This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is going on, Winnipeg? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily on a Victory Friday here on WST. What a game last night. The Jets put an exclamation mark on the Central Division, all but assuring themselves a first place with a win in Dallas in regulation. It wasn't just a win. It was Connor Hellebuyck's franchise record 45th win of the season, pushing himself closer to the all-time wins record for a single season for a goaltender in the NHL, a league-leading 8th shutout. And for the Winnipeg Jets, they get to 99.9% to be the Central Division champions and the number one seed in the West, and looking pretty darn good for the President's Trophy as well. We are going to be all over last night's game, the rest of the way for the Winnipeg Jets in the upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs, as well as Connor Hellebuyck's Hart candidacy today. Craig Button is going to join us. If you've seen Craig on TSN, not just yesterday, not just last week, but for a number of weeks, he has been one of our biggest allies when considering Hellebuyck for Hart. I cannot wait to have Craig on the program. He's going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. We will have more Jets content with Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press, and we're going to even check in with Jamie Thomas before the end of the program as well. Of course, it's Friday. That means we've got a great marble race, and we'll certainly be paying attention to what's happening at Augusta National with the Masters. Rory McIlroy on a nice little run on the second 9 right now. So we'll do a full Masters update for Breezy Bend later on today on the program. But what can you say about last night's game? I mean, we mentioned yesterday on the show, this was a huge opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets to go in. We talk about statement games. I know Rennie went on this yesterday. The way that they played, the way they won that game was the statement. The way they won on Monday, I think, was a statement. And that statement to the rest of the league is, think what you want about previous playoff failures. The 24-25 Winnipeg Jets are one hell of a hockey team, and if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to earn it. And the Dallas Stars weren't close last night in a game that, meant everything to their chances on avoiding Colorado in the first round and winning the Central Division. Kyle Connor hits 40, the 40 piece for KFC, 2 goals last night. And I have a feeling we're going to be talking quite a bit about Morgan Barron today for the second straight game, showing off his speed, his power, taking the puck to the net and scoring a huge goal for the Winnipeg Jets in a tight game, high leverage against a division opponent. So, all smiles around the peg. Last night was a fun night to be around. I know the IC guys had a bunch of people out at Boston Pizza on Taylor. I know Nick and Nick Lyman and Top Line Gang had a bunch of people out at Dal's. I hit a couple spots, and everyone was wearing their Jets gear, and everyone was fired up, and I don't think the WST chat will be any different today. Shout out to everybody listening on the podcast. Welcome to all of you that are with us live on YouTube right now. Buckle up. It's going to be a fun one. And just before we bring in Michael Remis, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, St. Vital Dental Center, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, the Winnipeg Jets, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, fansfirst.ca. Of course, Breezy Bend, golf season is back. The Masters are on. We'll hit that later on. And we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's get this show on the road. Michael Remis, how about that?
Wow, Hester. Wow, what a game last night. We thought it was going to be close, tight checking. It certainly was that for about the first 15 minutes. And once the Jets got on the board, they broke the game open and really put the screws to Dallas. Hellebuyck got the shutout. He made every save that he had to make look easy. I don't think there was a ton of high danger. And man, were the Jets throwing the body around last night, Hustler. Or season high in hits. I think they were pretty close to it, like midway through the second period. They were almost there. Luke Shen leading the way with 7. Tanev and Lowry up there as well. That fourth line buzzing, getting goals from 3 of the 4 lines. Morgan Barron with the Spider-Man goal from Tuesday or Monday, the same goal again. It's funny. It's crazy how that happened, and I think Morgan Barron certainly emerged, and that fourth line looking really strong with Jared Anderson-Dolan, but in a game that they, I don't want to say had to have, but didn't want to lose that one. When the Jets have had these big games, they've shown up, Huss, and really elevated, and they did last night, and they've done that this weekend. They certainly look ready heading into the playoffs. And now that you talk about the division, just need 1 point gained or 1 point lost by Dallas, and you can put the other letter in the standings. Absolutely incredible performance, start to finish for the Winnipeg Jets this season, and playoff fever very high heading into next week.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say that whiteout section at Royal Sports is going to get picked over pretty good this weekend. We knew that this team was going to be in the playoffs. We knew that they were going to be hosting in the first round, but I mean, there was a big time carrot to we winning this division. Avoiding Colorado in the first round, getting one of the 2 wild card teams, which right now is very much up for grabs. I mean, I think we kind of thought that St. Louis was going to pass Minnesota, but with the Blues' late loss in regulation to the Oilers, I would say Minnesota actually has the advantage right now with having a game in hand and a likely tiebreaker on St. Louis. So it could be Jets Blues. And if you'd asked people that a week ago, it might have been a little bit more nervous about the Blues with the way they've been playing. And then we saw what the Jets did to St. Louis here in Winnipeg on Monday night. So I can't remember a time, Remo, I think, where confidence has been as high. 17-18 was a time where I think people knew that the team was capable of some really good things. But again, you were in a division with the number 1 team in hockey in the Nashville Predators. You knew that it was going to be tough. And I think the situation's very similar this year. While still, winning the division, which will be great, the Central Division's going to have 5 playoff teams. You're going to be playing a really tough team in round 1. And if you're fortunate enough to come out of it, listen, whoever survives between Colorado and Dallas will be a very, very tough out. But, the Jets have put themselves in the position that they set out to. First off, it was to make the playoffs. And then as we got closer to the end of the run with what they'd accomplished, finished the job. And as I said, they put an exclamation mark on it last night. You mentioned the goals from 3 different lines. This was a game that was basically played at 5-on-5, Reem. And for the most part, the Jets completely dominated the game. And what was maybe the most impressive, because I did think Dallas had some pushback in the second period. But again, the Barron goal, to go from 1 to 2, especially knowing that Dallas really needed that game in regulation, I think gave the Jets, a level of comfort as to where they were. But, even with that 2-0 lead and the situation that they were in, they came out and absolutely crushed the Dallas Stars in the third period. And, playing with a 2-goal lead, if you didn't know who was down 2-0 and you watched that third period, you'd probably think it was the Jets with the way that they pushed. And obviously Kyle Connor with the 2 goals in the third period to get to 40, continuing his brilliant season. Mark Scheifele with the career high in points. It could take the full 2 hours to give out the bouquets to everyone that deserved one from last night. But, starting with the guy in net who made some big saves and didn't let anything past him, from the top line to the fourth line, from the first defenseman right through the sixth defenseman. We've said this before, but everybody had a hand in another big team win for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I think so. And they definitely got a big boost with Nikolai Ehlers and Neil Pionk returning. While those guys didn't get on the score sheet, I think it was definitely helpful, the team, to have them back. And, we're wondering, okay, who's going to score, who's going to get on the board. And first it was that third line. And I think the third and fourth lines look very strong, throwing the body around Huss. But it was Nino Niederreiter going to the front of the net. And, Dallas players just left him all alone as he tips a cross-ice pass from Appleton. Lowry back to Morrissey, who was all over the ice last night, and Niederreiter in front of the net all alone. And that kind of set the tone from there. And Dallas was just looking to get out of the get out of the first period after that. And you're right, they continued to bring the pressure all the way. And Morgan Barron, man, has this guy emerged. We've been talking about him for before it was Cole Perfetti and Dylan Samberg. We've talked about how they've leveled up this year, but Morgan Barron, since moving the center, he's been the guy that we've talked about. And, just taking the puck, up, through the neutral zone, entering the offensive zone, and dangling, the Stars' third pair defenseman, doesn't play a lot. And again, the backhand to forehand far side move, that is now the Barron. So when you're coming in on your off wing down that side, and you want to fake, backhand and then take a quick forehand shot, that's the Barron. That's his move. And did it twice this week in 2 games, that the Jets, not needed to win, but very important to win. And I'm sure Dallas is, super frustrated here. They had chances, to win this division, to win the Central with the 2 games against the Jets in the last month. And not only did they lose that, it wasn't close. The Jets blew them out at Canada Life Center. And then, when we said yesterday, the home team has won every game between Jets and Stars. The Jets went into Dallas and pasted them 4-0. Absolutely just incredible work here from the Winnipeg team.
Hey, by the way, obviously we're going to be talking about this a lot, but if you missed it, and we'll do more of this as we get into the postseason, Remo and Connor did a full game recap after the game, which is up on the YouTube channel as well. So when you're finished up with WST today, and you want to relive last night's game a little more, Remo and Connor are there for you over on our YouTube channel. I want to quickly, listen, we've talked about the beautiful tip by Nino. Morrissey had a monster game, obviously. Morgan Barron doing it again. Just on Barron, Remo, to get that sort of production and impact from your fourth line is so important. And man, Brandon Tanev immediately became one of the most popular players in the Winnipeg Jets when he came back from the Seattle Kraken. And he just continues to up that with the way that he plays each and every night. But, the emergence of Barron as this fourth line center, with, a real dangerous side to his offensive game. And to me, his size is one thing. The battling in the corners, he does all that, and he's been doing it all year long. The position that he's in right now, he's getting a chance to show his speed. And for the second game in a row, when they're matching up against third pairing defensemen that might not be as fleet of foot, these guys are getting absolutely torched by Barron's speed. And I think he's catching them by surprise. That probably won't happen come playoff time. There's going to be a little bit more tape on them, but they're going to need to you need to respect Morgan Barron's speed and his ability to hang onto the puck and take it to the net. But how about the play by Jared Anderson-Dolan? The touch pass to Kyle Connor on his 40th to put the cherry on the Sunday last night. That was shades of, he did touch the puck, so it wasn't quite the Mario Lemieux between the legs. But a nice little highlight reel goal from Kyle Connor, which we've seen many of. I'm not sure we had Jared Anderson-Dolan with the beautiful touch pass, but in between the 4 hits that he made last night, just a beautiful, beautiful play, and ended up being on the ice for 2 goals forward. And since he's come into the lineup, the physicality to play is finishing with every check, and now being able to contribute a little bit offensively. that was a development I was not expecting, but it's been pretty nice to see, and it just adds more depth and more competition for the guys that want to be in the lineup in the top 12.
Yeah, I remember seeing Jared Anderson-Dolan in the preseason against Edmonton, and I liked the way that he went into the corners and threw his body around, and he was a perfect complement with Barron and Tanev on that fourth line. You talk about Barron's speed. I look at NHL Edge stats. You sort forwards. He's got the 10th fastest. Is it 10th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10th fastest max speed of any forward this year. Just behind Connor McDavid. So that shows you, his in-game max speed. Pretty good there. And you saw that on that goal in the Anderson-Dolan play. Yeah, will we be looking back at that goal when you remember this game, the game where the Jets pretty much iced the Central Division against the rival Dallas Stars, and you think about that goal to Kyle Connor, seemingly wide open in front of the net. I mean, you look at the Nino goal, wide open in front of the net of Kyle Connor, his fourth goal, or the team's fourth goal in front of the net. Just some great plays by everyone, and one thing that impressed me was on the third goal, Kyle Connor gives it away at the blue line, and you're thinking, oh no, is this going to be an odd man rush? And, we had mentioned Luke Shen, not the fastest player. Did you see him busting back to cover for that? And Fallow chips it to no man's land, and Mark Scheifele gets the puck, chips it to Connor, and he's in on a breakaway. And isn't that nice having a player, Huss, who can finish breakaways like Kyle Connor can for his 40th of the year, career high 94 points. Incredible season he's having. And amazing that he was sat in the goal. A guy with those numbers sat in the gold medal game of the Four Nations, Huss. But I think all those Four Nations, we've talked about this, is kind of fueling some of these guys like Hellebuyck, Morrissey, the Scheifele snub, and Kyle Connor. Snubbed by his own team. So, again, you can pick any player on the ice yesterday and say, wow, what a great game. It was a full team effort.
It was, and listen, they didn't get the goggles on yesterday, or pull the champagne out in the locker room for clinching the division, because as we said, it is not 100%. They still do need a point from their final 3 games, or Dallas to not get 2 points in one of their games. But you could tell the vibe of a team that was mission accomplished last night. The jacket ceremony was one that I think a lot of fans loved. If you missed it, this was the scene in the Jet locker room last night as the jackets were rolled out after a massive win for Winnipeg in Dallas.
Hey, big win, boys. I got one more crazy side here. This guy, exact same amount of goals against today as fish he caught yesterday.
More speech!
That was a great team win, boys. Great blocks, great goals. Way to bury. Let's continue it on and finish right in the playoffs.
Yeah! A lot of good things tonight, man.
More speech.
Good to see Flyback staying up for herself, but I thought Neep played a great game, and
Good win, boys. See you Saturday. More speech! More speech!
All right, so there you have the MVP, certainly in the minds of certainly every Winnipeg Jet fan. Connor Hellebuyck last night, and fired up after a big game. And just Remis, will get to Coach Arneal in just a minute. But holy smokes, big statement for his MVP candidacy as he gets his 8th shutout, 45th win, and the goals against average drops under 2 to 1.99. Let's hear from the coach, Scott Arneal. Pretty proud of his club after another great performance in a game that they really wanted to have to ice the Central Division. Here's the coach.
Yeah, we had to be ready. This is obviously a team that, like we've talked about, they haven't left our rearview mirror all year long, and we had to be good early. And I thought our first period was really strong, and then we built off of that. But just throughout our lineup, there was a lot of guys doing what they needed to do to help us have success.
Can your single season game high for hits had been 37. You guys were up to 40 just through 2 periods. That surprise you at all, or is that just the way the game played out, or is that some of your guys just really taking matters in their own hands?
I think that's a lot to do with the guys recognize what's still at stake here for us. And, Dallas is a big team. They're a great skating team. If you don't run into them, they're gonna make plays. They're gonna do things that you don't want them to do. So I thought that for us, we come out and we played a hard road game, and you try to do that every game. But tonight, I liked our battle. It was really, really strong.
Hard road game, playoff style game. The Winnipeg Jets in fine form this week. Monday against St. Louis and last night against Dallas. Basically a carbon copy squeezing their opponent. And Scott Arniel talked about having their game playoff ready after with Mike McIntyre.
That's maybe the one thing that's kind of happening here with Dallas right on our tail is that we have to play this same sort of heavy, hard hockey that we have to play starting in game 83, and it's kind of kept us sharp right to the end here. So, I would like it maybe if it was we had things squared away, but at the end of the day, just the guys are recognizing we have to take care of our business. We're not waiting for other teams to, other things to happen around the league. We have to take care of our business. That's win our hockey games. That was after the St. Louis game, and to bounce back again tonight with a really strong central divisional win. That's large.
And there's head coach Scott Arniel, and a bit of a I don't want to say scary moment, but a hold your breath moment at the end of the game there. It's seemingly all but wrapped up, and it's Sam Steele takes down Nikolai Ehlers in the corner, and Ehlers gives him a little tap saying, "Hey man, you're taking me down from behind. That's not a hockey play." And Steele gets up and whacks him in the face with a glove punch, questionable move, and they drop the gloves. And here's Scott Arniel talking about Nikolai Ehlers dropping the gloves with Sam Steele.
I mean, that's Nick. He sticks up for himself. I see him in a few fights now. He's a tough, scrappy kid. And when you have sort of elite top 6 players like that are extremely competitive like he is and doesn't give up an inch, that's just a competitive side of him, and you love to see it.
Nikolai Ehlers, first game back from injury. You're kind of worried about him dropping the glove. You don't want him to throw a punch. And I don't know, when you're fighting in the NHL, like majority of the face is covered by a helmet, and we do see a lot of hand injuries. But I do respect Ehlers standing up for himself. I thought it was kind of a garbage play by Sam Steele. I called that a hip drop tackle, like that's flagged in the NFL, where you tackle a guy from behind, starting up high and moving down toward the hips. You can see, if his legs go the wrong way, you could really hurt someone with that. And Ehlers does answer the call. And Arniel noted Ehlers has been known to drop the gloves from time to time. He's got 8 fights on his hockeyfights.com fight card. What a great website. Tyson Berry, Colton Sissons, Brad Marchand, Ryan Getzlaff, Braden Shen, Sam Steele, and that was last name, and Brendan Smith. So, I like Ehlers dropping the gloves. I think he kind of knew that, hey, I don't want to get hurt here. Kind of just hang on, and went for the takedown near the end. I don't know why Sam Steele is so sensitive at getting shoved after with the illegal takedown there. Anyways, we'll move on. We'll talk about, here's Scott Arniel. A number of players hitting milestones. Hellebuyck, franchise wins. Mark Scheifele's hitting career highs for points. Kyle Connor for points. Here is Scott Arniel on the number of players who just hitting career milestones this season.
Yeah, we've had a few milestones that have happened this year, and it's great. It's a great accomplishment for those players. You should be real proud of them, but at the end of the day, I don't even have to tell them. Those are the guys that are more concerned about, where the team's at and where we are with, when it comes to securing a playoff spot, where we are in the standings. And really it is. Those guys know that they need to do those things offensively, do those things for us to have success, but at the same time, they recognize that it's a team game and there's a lot more to it.
And there's head coach Scott Arniel after the game. Shout out to Mike McIntyre asking all the questions there in the Winnipeg Free Press for sending him on the road. Next up was Josh Morrissey. What a game he had on the top pair with Dylan DeMello. 2 assists, including on Kyle Connor's goal, and he had the point shot on Nino Niederreiter's goal. But he was asked about the number of hits in the game, a season high for the Jets. They came out laying the body, 44 hits for the Jets. 37 was the high. Before that, 27 for the Stars. Here's Josh Morrissey on the number of hits in the game, and if that was a strategy coming into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't say that was really part of the plan, was intently to come out and be physical. I think when you see, hits like that, generally means, the guys are driving their legs and ready to play, not turning off checks on either the forecheck or in the D zone. So great job by the guys being committed to, using their legs, checking with their legs. And as I said, that usually results in, going through bodies. And I think that's probably why you see the hits ramp up for sure.
Is this sort of a template victory for your team that you're, a lot of patience, kind of wait for opportunities and then open it up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously big game, ton of respect for how good that team is over there. And we've been trying to kind of fight them off all year, and it was a big 4-point game. So still hockey left to be played, obviously, for us to kind of accomplish our short-term goal of winning the division. But, it was a big game, and I think more so, as I mentioned this morning, was just being kind of having our game right for this time of year, and obviously game 83 that's on the horizon. So good opportunity the other night against St. Louis, and another great opportunity here tonight against two great teams playing well. So I liked a lot of what we did, and there's some things we can build on from that for sure.
All right, there is Josh Morrissey. I cannot wait for our next guest. Craig Button is going to join us. Just before that, gang, if you got a move planned coming up in spring and summer, holler at our great partners over at Rolly's Transfer, family owned and operated for over 60 years here in the Peg, and giving you white glove treatment from where you're at right now to your next move. Head on over to their website at rollys.com, click on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services, and let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you set up for the white glove treatment that they are famous for. For your next move, make it Rolly's, proud sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Check them out online and request an estimate today at rollys.com. I know it'll be a fun 3 o'clock hour at St. Vital Dental Center because the screens will be on for the marble race. Great support we've got from St. Vital Dental. If you're looking for a great spot to take care of you and your entire family's dental needs like generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans have, give them a call. Beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with free parking in the background. You can find out more on everything St. Vital Dental Center can do for you online at stvitaldental.ca. And hey, Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery are ready for the turn of seasons. They've been getting us from point A to point B, making sure those car and truck batteries are good to go. Now we can start thinking about boats and ATVs and all the fun things that make the spring and summer in Manitoba a little more fun to get outside in winter. Shop local, get the best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores, and the best service as well at Manitoba Battery, because they'll deliver the batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Visit them, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive, for their new location, or simply order online and get them delivered to you at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's I've been looking forward to this conversation all week long, even more so after last night, because our next guest has been an ally of those of us pushing Connor Hellebuyck for heart, and has been someone that has recognized just how good this Winnipeg Jets team has been all year long. Craig Button from TSN joins us now. And Craig, great to have you back on the show. Thanks so much for doing this. It has been a fun few days here in Winnipeg. I mean, coming in, knowing what the St. Louis Blues have been up to and the Dallas Stars waiting at home on Thursday, I'm not sure the Winnipeg Jets could have done anything more to let the rest of the NHL know that this team means business, and they're going to be a tough outcome playoff time.
Yeah, no question about it. And, it was interesting because after that game in Utah last Saturday night, I was like, oh, come on. Like, seriously, are you going to create more doubt for everybody that wants to be in a situation? Sorry about that. You want to create more doubt for everybody with respect to how you play. And then, the big game against St. Louis on Monday, because the game on Monday was leading into Thursday night's game against Dallas. They don't beat St. Louis, and boy, it now becomes like, it's a little bit tight collar time. And great game against the St. Louis Blues. And like the game a couple of weeks ago in Winnipeg versus Dallas, I'm going to quote my dear friend Ken Hitchcock. Game was too rich for the Dallas Stars. Too rich. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets have been able to do. I appreciate your introduction. My job is to try to offer perspective, offer opinion, but also make sure that it's valid. I don't know how anybody can say that Connor Hellebuyck as the Hart Trophy winner is not valid. I don't know how anybody can say that the Winnipeg Jets as a serious Stanley Cup contender is not valid. There's fandom, but then there's reality. There has been no better team in the National Hockey League over the last 161 regular season games than the Winnipeg Jets. There's been no goaltender better than Connor Hellebuyck, maybe no better player in the last 161 regular season games, not that he's played them all, than Connor Hellebuyck. So you watch, you see, you look at different areas, you look at data, you look at the eye test. This is a really strong Winnipeg Jets team. And what has everybody been waiting for, Hustler? Everybody's been waiting for the playoffs to begin so that they can get that bad taste of last year's series out of their mouth. And I don't have any doubt that they will.
Well, and we've been, obviously looking forward to the playoffs, knowing this was a playoff team. But Craig, there has been there was a big carrot to winning the Central Division. The fact of the matter is this is the best division in hockey. You've got 3 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league in your top 3. And considering what happened in the playoffs, I think the Jets would be more than happy to let Dallas and Colorado go at it for 2 weeks and see who survives, and hopefully make it through their through their round, and then see who the Kings of the Central are. But man, the way that they did it, Monday night, first off, because listen, as great as the game against Vegas was, the 4-0 shutout, it was a very disappointing first 40 minutes. Scott Arniel said as much. That did not look like the team that won in Vegas. And then you have 6 periods of dominant hockey against top teams in the NHL. Like, what impressed you the most about these last 2 wins? Knowing the stakes, what they were trying to accomplish, and the opposition that they were facing.
Yeah, well, the opposition, we know how strong it was, right? So I don't think there's any question that, facing strong competition. To me, it was the way they stifled those teams. It was the way that they said, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to show that you're better than us. You're going to have to push us back. You're going to have to push us out of what we're trying to do. St. Louis Blues were better than the Dallas Stars, but not by much. St. Louis Blues hung in there. They played pretty good, like in terms of staying in the game. But once the Winnipeg Jets pushed the game up to a higher level, that's why I used the Ken Hitchcock quote. It was too rich. Like, you can think it was 2-0 after the second period versus Dallas. Dallas wasn't in that game, just like they weren't in the game in Winnipeg. St. Louis, it was even until the third period, but it wasn't really as close as the scoreboard indicated. And there was no real significant time in those 2 games where you looked like, oh boy, the opponent has the Jets tipped over a little bit. They have them a little bit on edge. Let's see what they can do. And I used the term 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It didn't matter who was coming out on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets. The opponent had no answer for them. And, you think about Niederreiter scoring the first goal versus Dallas, Morgan Barron scoring the second goal against Dallas. Yeah, Kyle Connor, you expect that from him. But that's why I use the 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a deep team. It's a hard team. The playoffs are about who can go the hardest, the longest. Winnipeg Jets have shown that. And I know last year they rolled into the playoffs. But let me ask you this question. a top defensive team last year in the National Hockey League, number one in goals against with the top goaltender. Tell me one person, just name one person anywhere on the planet that said the Jets are going to get caved in defensively. It was a bad 8 days. That's all it was. I've seen that happen before, and just because you have a bad 5 games doesn't mean that that's going to repeat itself. I think the Jets have come back this year with a real resolve, and you got to go through 82 to get to game 1 of the playoffs. I think this team now knows sharpening the saw is something that's really important. I don't think they're going to have any defensive wobbles when the playoffs begin.
Well, and you know, it's funny you mentioned that, Craig, because I think, you know, to touch on 2 things. I mean, the failure in the playoffs last year when they had a very ugly 8 days, probably as ugly as they had at any point during the regular season, was a bitter pill to swallow for the fan base, but also for the players. And, you know, they owned that this year. I mean, they weren't running from it. They knew they had to be better, and they've seemed to be focused on doing everything they can to be more consistent throughout the year. And like, maybe the best example of that just from last night was what they did to Dallas in the third period. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, just natural. I mean, you know, the way the team played in the first 40, and you're up 2-0, you're thinking, okay, here comes the big push from the Dallas Stars. I said to Reem at the start of the show, if you just said, oh yeah, one of these teams is up 2-0, and these are the stakes for the game, and watch the third period, you would have thought it was the Jets that were down 2-0 to Dallas. They absolutely owned them, and it was like Dallas almost put up the white flag. So, I mean, they know that the job is not done until that final buzzer goes. And, you know, kind of put that on a season scope, it's like these last couple games this week against St. Louis and Dallas are like that of the regular season, where they're pushing right to the end to finish the job, and then, of course, be ready to start a whole nother journey next week when everyone resets to 0 with 16 teams in the tournament.
Exactly. But again, the playoffs, the margins are thinner. The 16 worst teams are knocked out. They're done. They're finished. They're on to next year. So the 16 teams left are good. Like you don't, Daryl Sutter said this many times, as have other coaches. It's hard to make the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Now you start the playoffs. Teams are good. They're trying to, you know, get their game in order. And that's why it's so important when you watch what the Winnipeg Jets are doing against really good competition, is that they're sharpening that saw. It's last year it felt like they were winning, but there was still some gaps in their game, and not big gaps. I'm not going to suggest that there were big gaps or where I would say I had concerns, but I don't see those gaps this year. And again, when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, and the way they buried the Dallas Stars. I mean, in Dallas, this is a team that's fighting for the President's Trophy, fighting for first place in their division, considered a Stanley Cup favorite. They were booed. They were booed in their own building, and that's coming off of the debacle against the Vancouver Canucks in the last minute. And if you go and look, and I'll send you the data. Since the Four Nations break, the Dallas Stars have been one of the worst defensive teams in the National Hockey League. Now, we can look at Heiskanen and go, yeah, that's a big loss. No kidding. But the Winnipeg Jets didn't have Gabe Vilardi last night. They didn't have Gabe Vilardi on Monday night, who's a real key figure on this team. But think about that. One of the worst teams in the entire 32-team league since the Four Nations break last year. That's not a Stanley Cup contender.
No, and on the other side of that data is right at the top. I mean, the best team in 5-on-5 is the Winnipeg Jets, and that, I think, maybe caught some people off guard or was surprised because there's been a couple losses in there. But, I mean, really from the 15-1 start, to their credit, they never laid off the gas. And if anything, they're playing better right now. And, I know we remember the 7-0 win in Colorado in Game 81 last year that, justifiably had everybody so excited, and then we knew what happened. Craig, you've been involved in team building, involved in teams. One of the themes that I think we've taken from the Winnipeg Jets is that they're owning what happened in the last 2 playoffs. I mean, there was the Bones explosion after Vegas and the no-show in Game 5, and then what happened in Colorado. There's a lot of teams with championship pedigree that went through some really tough losses, some poor play, some major disappointments, and it forged them into the team that made them champions. Are you seeing that same sort of response to the last 2 seasons in the Winnipeg Jets? And how much a part of, do you think, owning it the way they did and their commitment to being better has made the team we're talking about sniffing around for that number 1 overall spot of 32 teams?
Yeah, I've seen exactly what you just laid out. And the first thing you have to do is acknowledge that, okay, this is where we fell short. I'll go back to the series a couple of years ago. They won game 1. They were up 2-0 going into the third period against Vegas. They lost. Came back for game 3. They lost Josh Morrissey. I mean, you're losing your best defense, one of the best. They lose in double overtime. Okay, so it's slid after that. Okay, and Rick Bowness, made his comments and whatever they were. But you learn from that. You also learned from last year. And the playoffs are about treating every single play as critically important. Because you don't know which play will ultimately be the critical play. You don't know that. So that's why when I use the term sharpen the saw, every player has to go out and say, this is what we're doing. That winning that puck right there, getting that puck out or getting that puck in right there matters. Because when plays turn around on you, you can point back to one thing that didn't happen. Now, you're not going to play a mistake-free game. But when you treat everything as critically important and every play is critically important, that's sharpening the saw. What did Wayne Gretzky famously say after losing 4 straight, the Stanley Cup final, the New York Islanders in '83? He said, I walked past their locker room and I said, oh boy, that's what the price is to pay. Now keep in mind, this is the 4th straight Stanley Cup for the New York Islanders. They knew what that price was. But you talk about learning. I mean, that great Edmonton Oilers group had to learn. And to me, the first thing you acknowledge is, oh, it's a little bit harder than I thought. Oh, it's going to take a little bit more than I thought. If winning was easy, everybody would do it. It's hard. It's hard to be dialed in for every single shift you're out on the ice. It's hard to be dialed in for all those games in the playoffs. But if you want to be crowned champions, that's simply what it takes.
If you want to win, especially in the playoffs, you need contributions from everybody. And you mentioned the name Morgan Barron earlier. Barron, it's interesting, and it's important to note, he was hurt last year in the playoffs, and I'm not sure. I mean, Morgan Barron wouldn't have been the difference in that series. However, he's been like a revelation since post-deadline moving over to center, Craig. Just your thoughts on the look of that 4th line, and really the bottom 6, if you want to include what the Lowry line has been doing for the last number of years, and how important that is. I mean, the combination of Brandon Tanev and now Jared Anderson-Dolan's in the mix. I mean, he's been hitting everything and finishing all of his checks. Just your thoughts on the playoff readiness of the bottom 6 of the Jets, and in particular, Morgan Barron's impact recently with the speed and the size he has playing in the middle on the 4th line.
Yeah, you nailed it, speed and size. And he's a competitor. So he does. A lot of players have speed and size, but they don't impose themselves. They don't initiate. I mean, that goal he scored, he scored a goal against St. Louis, which was pretty significant. Very similar type play to the one he scored versus
almost the
Dallas.
same goal.
Yeah, but he's a player that says, stop me. Stop me. I'm not stopping myself, so what are you going to do to stop me? And I think that's the attitude that Morgan Barron possesses. I think that's the attitude the Winnipeg Jets have shown that they possess. And I think it's an important thing to possess going into the playoffs. But you talk about Morgan Barron, you talk about Brandon Tanev. I mean, Brandon Tanev is disruptive. He's disruptive. And you're sitting on the bench and you know you're going out against Brandon Tanev. It's no fun. Because there's no chance to relax. There's no chance for a mental rest, let alone a physical one when those guys are out there. And for Scott Arniel to have options. Like, I talked earlier about Gabe Vilardi. Gabe Vilardi was a mainstay, a really, really important figure on that top line with Scheifele and Connor. And now Alex Iafallo just steps up there and has really stepped into a real significant contributing role there. Then you have other players. I mean, Gustafsson had some really good stretches. We know what Kupari can do. And really what I'm speaking to here is depth. Depth. You need depth. You can't have too few players that leave you short on your in the areas of your team. Yeah, do the Jets have tons of skill? Yeah, they have lots of skill, but they have depth. Neil Pionk comes back in the lineup. Now you got Luke Shen playing in different areas, and now he's not extended. And you start to look at everything that the Winnipeg Jets have in terms of building out their team. And credit to Kevin Cheveldayoff and the management group, because I know everybody talked, and me at times too, I'm not going to exclude me from this, about the second line. And I didn't think they necessarily needed a second line center as much as they needed a little bit more weight on that second line. But now I'm watching, I'm going, probably not. I think that line has shown enough because they have enough backing. The Lowry line, which arguably is the best third line in hockey, now the fourth line with Barron and whoever's going to play on that line with Tanev, there's depth there, and there's weight, and there's speed, and that's how you grind down teams. That's how you grind them down. And winning teams have those types of players. That's what you need to go the hardest, the longest. The Jets have it.
Well, and listen, Scott Arniel hopefully is going to have good problems with a full array of healthy players. I mean, if Gabe Vilardi comes back, I assume you're going to crank him back to where he's normally been. But I'll tell you what, Craig, I mean, the contributions of Alex Iafallo on that top line in the spot of Gabe Vilardi, he probably doesn't have the offensive pop that Vilardi does, but he does so many other things that kind of scream playoffs. And, whether they put him back with Barron and like a Tanev on a fourth line, that would be, I mean, no disrespect to Dolan, Anderson Dolan, because he's been really good, or whoever else has been there. But it gives Arniel some real options. And in particular, Iafallo is a player that I think if a guy goes down, I mean, you'd feel comfortable with him playing on any one of your four lines at the playoffs because of what he's able to do defensively, 200 foot, and then also add something offensively when he's playing with top players.
There's no question about it. And I think that we all run into this problem, and when I say problem, it's not a problem. We see what Jared Anderson Dolan has done, what Kupari has done, Gustafsson, and we look, oh yeah, no, and it's really simply about having more options and ability for a coach to have more players at his disposal. Good teams have that. Good players are going to have players that jump in times of need. They're going to have to swing players around the lineup. And I think that's one of the things about what Kevin has been able to do. Alex Iafallo, to me, is an incredibly valuable player. Tanev is an incredibly valuable player. Niederreiter, an incredibly valuable player. Because of their flexibility, Morgan Barron is showing that now. Because on the wing, now he can play in the middle. When you're faced and you're going to play one team in a playoff round, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we stop what they do well? How do you try to overcome what the other opponent is doing to you? And you have all these tools, really good tools at your disposal that you can use and mix it up and switch it around so that you don't lose your advantages. That, to me, is a coach's dream. And I think that Scott Arniel has that coach's dream with the lineup that he has. And he's got the skill. He's got the size. I think the second line has shown they can be really, really important. And at the same time, if the game gets a little bit too heavy at times, he doesn't have to use them as much. Why? Because he's got a third and fourth line that can go out and do some heavy lifting and take some of that burden off. And that's all good. If one line's going to offset another line, well, then you got to find a way where another line can come out and do it. I think Winnipeg's third and fourth lines can overpower and outman anybody in the Western Conference. Anybody in the Western Conference. And maybe outside of Washington, where I think that they're an equal, that's the only other team that I think matches them right now.
TSN's Craig Button with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. You mentioned Luke Shen. Just thoughts on the presence that he's added to the Jet blue line and how much more ready their unit is for playoff hockey now that big number 5's on the blue line.
Luke Shen's in it to win it. Simple as that. I mean, I'm trying to think who did he bury last night along the boards? It was Mason Marchment. Mason Marchment, who's a good, competitive, hard-nosed player. He made a little turn, and And Luke just buried him. Luke just said, and what Luke does is he's like that dripping water that erodes your spirit. He erodes your spirit because he knows that the first shift of a game against Dallas, the situation, he's going to bury you. Because what he wants to do is kill your spirit. He wants to make you less inclined to compete. And that's what, listen, we talk about hockey being a wonderful game, and it is. It's a competition. And Luke Schenn is a big-time competitor who cares about one thing. What do I have to do to help my team win? And he's going to do that. And I think that it was a fabulous, fabulous signing or trade. I think that it probably took him a little bit of time to get up to speed in terms of the way the Jets want to play and the pace that they play at. But he looks right now like he's right up to that speed. I mean, that goal that Connor scored, the third goal, I mean, that all started with Luke Schenn. And again, seeing that quickness and seeing that ability to just it's not about can he play at that pace, it's just getting up to that pace. And I think he's there now. But ask any player if they want to play against Luke Schenn. And I want to hear who's raising their hand and going, yeah, me, because I don't think there is.
Well, I mean, and there was one play in the, and again, it was a little bit difficult to see the entirety of it on television, but I remember the Jets were breaking out. This is, I think, sort of late in the first period, and they had the wide shot, and Schenn is still going at it with Jamie Benn in front of the net. I mean, like, there's no easy ice when number 5 is on right now, and it was interesting to see when we came out of the trade deadline with 8 healthy defensemen and Schenn in on the right side, they started off with Hayden Fleury. And then, of course, Pionk got injured, so Schenn moved up with Sandberg. Last night, with the complement of defensemen, they actually went for the first time to a Stanley Schenn pairing. And I think there was some nerves that, while those guys are certainly big and bring a lot to it, that might be a pairing that lacked a little bit of the foot speed at times to potentially get burned. Certainly didn't look that way last night. If everyone's healthy, do you think that is the third pairing, or do you think Fleury and Schenn is a better fit, if you will, come playoff time?
Well, we talk about depth again, right? And depth now becomes a case where you can look at it. Okay, is it a little bit too much for somebody? So I got an option now. Hayden's a great skater, and I think Hayden's play has given them some really good play. Do you have to play them every game? No. If they're playing well, yeah, you can. But again, watching how a game unfolds, watching where a team is trying to exploit where they think they might have an opportunity, that's where Scott Arniel and the coaching staff have options. And you get those options by recognizing, okay, what type of player fits? I've talked about Hayden in this before. I mean, Hayden's an excellent skater. He competes. And now you get a player that can fit into your group. You're not just adding a player. You're adding a player that can fit into your group. I want to make, you made the comment about Jamie Benn. Trust me, Jamie Benn knows who the heartbeat players are. And he knows what Luke Schenn is all about. Jamie Benn battling Luke Schenn, that's no accident. That's Jamie Benn saying, okay, here's what you guys need to do. And I'm gonna battle. And a couple of years ago in that playoff series with Calgary and Dallas in the first round, which was fantastic, Daryl Sutter, he recognized who the heartbeat of the Dallas Stars was, and it was Jamie Benn. And he said, I'm going right head to head here. I'm making sure that Jamie Benn doesn't get his way with us. And Jamie Benn is a guy that's going to say, okay, Mr. Schenn, I'll stand up to you. I'm going to battle with you. Problem for Jamie Benn and the Stars, or not for Jamie, but for Peter DeBoer and the Stars, was not too many people were ready to follow his lead.
Craig, before we go, you've been riding with me on this for a while. With the final 3 games of the season, Connor Hellebuyck, 45 wins, only 12 losses in regulation, 8 shutouts. With the shutout last night, his goals against average is under 2 at 1.99, and he leads the league at a .925 save percentage. Is this enough to overcome the bias against goalies? Oh, and by the way, he's led his team to being the number 1 team in the league. Is this enough to overcome the bias against goalies and win the Hart Trophy as the MVP?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a voter. He has my first place vote. I can tell you that right now. And our votes are public. So you'll see. You can say, Craig, you were true to your word, because I'm not hiding it. What he is doing hasn't been done in 40 years. Last time it was done was in 85-86. Leading the league in goals against average, save percentage, wins, and shutouts. And prior to that, it had been done in the 70s. And the three, like Bob Froese was the guy with the Philadelphia Flyers that did it in 85-86. Prior to that, it was Bernie Parent, Ken Dryden, and Jacques Plante somewhere in the 50s. This is not something that is commonplace. And when we see somebody approaching 70 goals, we see somebody get 100 assists, we get all excited and go, wow, what an unbelievable year. What Connor Hellebuyck is doing is every bit as incredible as somebody getting near 70 goals or getting 100 assists or 100 points for a defenseman. Everything he is doing deserves consideration and in my play, the first place vote, because it's not common. This is not something that happens every year. I know that there's other players that have been really valuable to their teams and have had really terrific seasons. This hasn't happened in 40 years. 40 years and 40 seasons. So we're now talking 39 seasons, because there was a lockout in there where we didn't play. So 40 years hasn't been done. And now you're going to have this bias. You know, I was exchanging some notes with somebody today, and he mentioned, he goes, well, look, Quinn Hughes has played as many games as Connor Hellebuyck. I said, yeah, and Connor Hellebuyck's played more minutes than anybody in the league. Like, you're a goaltender, you got to play all 60, don't you? The skaters get to go off for half the game, right? And you got to stay dialed in. So, you know, for every argument against the goalie only playing, like, think about it. He's only played 60 games. Yeah, right, yeah. And all he's done is beat every team and had a goals against average. I think it's absolutely phenomenal what he's doing. There's no way that you can dismiss Connor Hellebuyck's season this year as heart-worthy.
No, I'm 100% with you. And I really did think, just thinking of the voters, that the Jets were going to have to finish the job, win the Central, win the West, and potentially the President's Trophy for them to actually accept Hellebuyck and the Winnipeg Jets as that team and this guy as the MVP. And, you know, going into the final 3 games, now that they're all but clinched of certainly the West, I think the scales have moved a little bit towards the goalie here in Winnipeg. Hey, Craig, just quickly on the way out, any thoughts on a matchup potentially between the Jets and Minnesota now that they've got Eriksson, Ek, and Kaprizov back, or St. Louis? I mean, I think popular opinion would have been you wanted Minnesota a week ago, but then seeing the way the Jets handled St. Louis in a big game on Monday night and then knowing what Minnesota's coming back, I'm kind of back in the middle on this. I mean, any thoughts on it?
What I would say is, and I said this about 10 days ago, you know, the Jets were playing, and somebody asked me, how important is it for them to finish in first and not have to face Colorado at that time? And I said, I've changed my thinking a little bit, and it dovetails right into what you just asked me. I've changed my thinking a little bit, because I don't think there's any team that the Jets can't beat. Yeah, will some team pose a little bit more of a challenge if you got Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar? But they've shown me, like, with no doubt in my mind this year, that they can beat anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I think that's where I talk about sharpening your saw, getting your game in order. That's what I see. So, you know, you beat the St. Louis Blues, you beat Colorado, you beat Dallas, you beat Vegas. Like, I mean, they're not playing Utah, so they don't have to worry about, you know, their most recent loss. They're not playing Columbus, who I saw them lose at home. And you're going to have games like that. But I just see a team that's ready to take on all challengers. And I know when I was in Dallas and we had some epic series versus the Edmonton Oilers, they weren't as good as us, but they were competitive and they were hard and they had nothing to lose. So any team playing the Winnipeg Jets in the first round, it'll be hard. They'll feel they have nothing to lose. But those series that we had against the Edmonton Oilers, and we lost one, but they helped us. They helped us understand that the games are going to be hard, and they help us build over the course of time. And I think that for the Winnipeg Jets, the same thing applies here. So when you're as good a team as the Winnipeg Jets, bring it on. We're ready to take anybody on. And let me just add one more thing, too. The Winnipeg Jets are going to have 2 first-team All-Star players on the NHL end-of-season All-Star team. Connor Hellebuyck in net and Kyle Connor on left wing. Those 2 guys, like, think about that. Think about, they might have why wouldn't Scott Arniel be the Adams Trophy winner? Adam Lowry is going to be a top 5 Selke guy. Morrissey should be a top 5 Norris guy. This is pretty incredible. And I haven't even mentioned Mark Scheifele, who's had a strong season. Like, this is a good team, Hustler. And I think that as much as everybody's chomping at the bit, and I mean, there's probably some people with doubts. That's okay. I think that to your point earlier, what you talked about, I think the Jets are ready to address those doubters and show that they're real.
Oh, man, cannot wait for next week and the Stanley Cup playoffs and the whiteout here, Craig. Hopefully we'll see you in and around Winnipeg at some point. Thank you very much for doing this. It is always our pleasure having you on the program.
Yeah, well, I see that Ken Wiebe's waiting. He must have just got off of the 18th hole at Augusta. I hear he's 3 under going into the weekend, so that's pretty good. He could be wearing the green jacket on Sunday afternoon.
Have a great weekend, Craig. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Oh, man, what a great chat with Craig Button. We were all, we left the sound on at the bar for the game afterwards when Craig was on, and everyone was listening to it. And they were, him talking about the Jets got about as many cheers as the final bell did. There's some great momentum for this team right now, and Craig, to his credit, has been on it, I think, before everyone. Sometimes it takes a little longer for people to notice what's happening in Winnipeg, but the rest of the NHL, I think, has been put on notice by the Jets through 79 games. Yes, Ken Wiebe is joining us in just a moment. Don't forget, gang, playoffs starting next weekend, and Whiteout Mania is taking over the peg, presented by Princess Auto. And Princess Auto's teamed up with the Jets to provide a platform to highlight the passion and creativity of fans throughout the playoffs through the Whiteout Mania initiative. You can showcase your fan spirit through whiteout costumes, home decor, recipes, cheers, hype songs, or any other unique way you're supporting the Jets for a chance to be featured in content and win tickets to a playoff game. Individuals, classrooms, businesses, and teams can enter their best do-it-yourself whiteout celebration efforts at winnipegjets.com/whiteoutmania. And starting on Tuesday, April 15th, this coming Tuesday, limited quantities of Whiteout Mania lawn signs are available at Princess Auto. So head on down to Princess Auto, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. For you Jet fans outside of the city, get into the Brandon location. 1 per customer, no purchase required. Those will be good to go come Tuesday over at Princess Auto. Huge thanks to Princess Auto for their support of WST as well. Hopefully we'll be putting any fishing trips off for the next couple months. But when it's time to hit the water, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge is the jewel of the province. And if you're thinking about maybe a new or different holiday plan this summer, think about Aikens Lake, where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Aikens Lake team and the Turenne family. Find out more on the 2025 fishing season online at aikenslake.com, and make sure to check out their socials at Aikens Lake. And hey, we do have playoffs coming up. We have also got grads and weddings and whatnot, and the fellas at F Apparel are busy right now. Guys, if you want to up your menswear game, get on down to F Apparel. Custom suits, custom shirts, chinos, golf pants, men's accessories, all at the best prices in town. And 2 big promos right now for graduates this year. Get a free shirt and tie with the purchase of any suit. And of course, great discounts for wedding parties, as F is the go-to spot for wedding suits for the big day. Find out more online, fapapparel.com. You can book a fitting there as well. And of course, you can also pop down and see him at 190 Smith Street downtown. All right, it is time to bring in Kenny Wiebe. We will do our weekly Weeb's World segment with the man who, as Craig mentioned, is ready for Augusta. As we bring in Ken, this segment's a presentation of your Prairie Toyota dealers. We've got a great contest going on right now with the grand prize of a signed Scheifele jersey, a signed Hellebuyck jersey, and some great Winnipeg Sports Talk merch. You need to enter your chance to win by visiting Prairie Toyota Dealers on Instagram at Prairie Toyota Dealers, or on Facebook at Prairie Toyota to enter. You've got until April 23rd to enter, so get your entries in today. There's also a link in the description of this video where you can do that. And hey, your Prairie Toyota dealers want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load. Take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear in the amazing new Toyota Tundra. $154 weekly from 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Wiebe, that was another vintage Jets performance as this team continues to build to the playoffs, but all but assuring themselves of a Central Division title and the 1 seed in the West. So the trip to the Cup goes through Winnipeg. How about that?
Yeah, impressive showing, Huss. Just quickly for Craig, if he was still listening, more likely to be Rory through 14 holes and then have 2 doubles in the last 3 holes. But Rory has rebounded nicely today, Huss. 6 under, standing over his approach on 18 here to get himself going. And our other Masters update, Corey Connors, 2 under through 9 holes, making the turn also at 6 down. So, but yeah, in terms of the Jets game, absolute domination station, Huss. Impressive from top down, incredible effort between the pipes, defensive effort once again, very, very sound. And man, 9-2 or 9-2, I think, were the high dangers in the last 2 periods. Yes, first period, Dallas had some good scoring chances and Hellebuyck stood tall, but in the last 2 periods, it was almost like it was Monday against St. Louis, Huss. The Jets gave up very, very little. And when they did give up a scoring chance, including the one to Rope Hintz early on that power play in the 3rd period, he stood tall and made a really good save on that slot chance there. So, and then too, in terms of the Jets offense, secondary scoring, Nino Niederreiter, cold as ice, Huss, 1 in 23 games. What does he do after every single morning skate? He tips about 35 pucks every day, 15 people across. Jets players try to fire it somewhere where he can't get a stick on it, and he almost never misses. So sure enough, what does Nino do when he needs to get his offense going? Heads to his office in front of the blue paint. Great play all around, cross ice play, nice drop pass Lowry, Morrissey unloads, and there's Niederreiter tipping one home. Need a 4th line goal. Oh, there's Morgan Barron blowing past Leon Bichel, and burying his second in as many games to get to 8. The latest Jet to push for maybe double digits in goals here. There's Neil Pionk coming out of... Hey, that's Neil Pionk's music, Huss. Sort of like The Undertaker coming back
the
at
Pionky
WrestleMania.
Tonk Man, Ken.
Yeah, indeed. The Pionky Tonk Man with Undertaker's music. We're coming out of the gates after missing 12 games. Oh, what does he do? Oh, just an easy 19 minutes playing up against Wyatt Johnston when he has to. Blocking shots, making hits, breaking up cross-ice passes on odd man rushes. There's Nikolai Ehlers back. Oh, what is he doing? Oh, he's getting involved offensively with Cole Perfetti and Vladislav Nemestikov. Oh, and then he decides to drop the mitts. I understand a nation holds its collective breath, as in Jets Nation, but he survived and got the takedown. So, this is part of who Nikolai Ehlers is. I mean, would people be saying something differently if he had hurt his shoulder in that fight? Of course they would. But this is a guy who hasn't been afraid to stand up for himself over the years. And you think you're going to push him around? Well, think again. 8th career fight. That's a lot. That's more fights than many guys on the Jets roster not named Adam Lowry. So I think Ehlers is getting himself going for a big playoff. And Huss, I spoke with him about this on the last road trip in LA after the morning skate. Nobody knows more than Nikolai Ehlers. Hey, you don't need to roll out the stats to Nikolai Ehlers. He's well aware of the 4 goals and 14 points in 37 playoff games. He felt that he took a step last year, even though it was only good for 2 assists in terms of the offensive production and in terms of playing the right way in the playoffs. This is a guy who often tries to do too much rather than not enough. This guy has a high carrying meter, And I suspect that this is the playoff that Nikolai Ehlers absolutely comes out of the gate and becomes a driving force for the Winnipeg Jets when it matters most. But he has to, Huss. This is the way it is. I mean, Nikolai Ehlers, the stakes have never been higher for him, both as an individual and for the team that he plays for. I expect he's ready and he's going to perform at his peak levels because, let's face it, and he did not shy away from this, Huss. His peak level in the regular season has not been matched by his peak level in the postseason, and I expect that will change this spring.
Ken, the one guy that hasn't been in the lineup for the last few weeks is Gabriel Vilardi.
Right.
They got Pionk back last night, and Ehlers missed a couple games. First of all, your thoughts on the body of work for the top line with Alex Iafallo playing up there. And I guess the simple question is, when Gabriel Vilardi's ready to go and return back to the lineup, is it an automatic that he goes back to the top line with Scheifele and Connor in the playoffs?
Yeah, Huss, this is a sort of a recency bias answer for me. And I do think that Alex Iafallo has done a fantastic job. And, what Alex Iafallo brings in terms of an element that the Jets don't have as much of when he's not there is a defensive presence that can kind of clean up some of the defensive issues that the Jets have had with their top line over the years. This is not breaking news. The Jets that line has improved dramatically over the course of the last year and a bit, but there are still some issues where they get hemmed in their own end because they're not a high shot volume team. That's a fact. But what Alex Iafallo, even though he has been able to chip in a little bit of offense, he does not provide the same level of offense as Gabe Vilardi does. That is also a fact. I think there will be to put it simply, there will be a blending of that line, Huss. I think that Vilardi will be on that line to start. When they're protecting a 1-goal lead in the last 5 or 6 minutes, I think you will see more Alex Iafallo up there like we've seen over the course of the year. If the Jets are down by a goal, they obviously continue to chase with Vilardi on that line. But let's also not forget what Gabriel Vilardi has done this year, Huss. Almost he would have eclipsed 30 goals had he not been injured and missed these last 11 games if he's unable to come back for that Ducks game next Wednesday. And he had 61 points in 71 games. So they miss Gabe Vilardi. That top line misses Gabe Vilardi. Having said all that, Alex Iafallo has done a fabulous job of filling in. But they're not as dynamic. But they also aren't giving up as much. So I get the folks that say just ride with what you have. I just
wonder if the playoffs are a little different and the way they look at, and particularly the competition and the matchups, is there an advantage to maybe taking a little bit away from the offensive pop of that line to have a guy like Iafallo that, is very impactful in their own end and has been able to contribute to offense as well. It's not like these guys have gone stone cold since Gabriel Vilardi's been out of the lineup.
No, they've been quieter, though. And also, too, let's not forget, as great as the season Vilardi had, I think he had 1 goal in his last 15 games before he was hurt. So he was also in a little bit of a cold spell in terms of his goal-scoring production. And again, Huss, I understand where you're coming from, but until that line gets outscored, let's not forget, this was one of the best top lines in the entire NHL for 60-plus games this year. I know you're not forgetting.
Listen, and I'm not suggesting they should do it. I just wonder with the success they've had, and I just look at the way the team played these last 2 games, which to me is the blueprint. I do wonder if it gives them pause on maybe some other options for the way the top 6. The other part of it, though, and I was talking about this, some friends, just say you wanted to leave Iafallo there, then where does Vilardi go? Are you moving Ehlers or Perfetti down? Probably not. I'm just not as sure. The one great thing about Iafallo is it doesn't matter if you stick him on Lowry's line or the 4th line or the top line. He'll be there on special teams. He'll do what he needs to do. I just think that the way that has happened, and we all know how things get amped up in the playoffs and how that is important. I'm sure it's given the coaches at least some thoughts on options they may have and ones that they may be forced into depending on who's available when someone inevitably gets dinged up during the postseason.
Yeah, and you were just talking about it with Craig, Huss. I mean, the option element of this is important, but Vilardi doesn't move. Doesn't skate well enough to be put with Lowry, even though we saw a couple shifts in the preseason, Huss, Lowry and Vilardi were like, whoa, this could be pretty dangerous. But are you going to put Gabe Vilardi out there in that role against Nathan MacKinnon? I mean, I'm not saying he can't handle it, but I am saying that it's something that you would also give pause. And what do we know about the Jets, Huss? They love continuity. Yes, they have test-driven a few things down the stretch, including Perfetti with that top line, which I also liked a lot of in that third period against Utah Hockey Club. And that's something they can go to also if they need it. Alex Iafallo has done a fabulous job. He is, he is the deodorant at times for whatever line he plays on. He's very effective, and he's going to give you the exact same effort no matter what line he plays on, which is what is part of what makes him great. But I just think that we shouldn't be discounting the impact that Gabe Vilardi has had, and it's not just an impact on the power play. He had a big impact at 5-on-5, and he's a pretty, again, is he as good defensively as Iafallo? No, but this is not a guy who struggles, big time in his own end either. So as long as Vilardi is feeling good, and I've said this from the beginning, I still expect him in that first round. I expect him for game 1. Now, again, I don't know if there's a setback. Only Gabe Vilardi knows for sure. And because we don't know the exact nature of the injury, other than knowing that he has had a history of back issues, and he fell directly on his back when he was slew-footed essentially by Alex Tuch. He was also hit earlier in that shift by Matthias Samuelsson. So could there have been a sprain of the shoulder or something? Of course there could, but we don't know the details. What we will know, and what we do know from Scott Arniel, is that he should be on the ice shortly. And I would expect him to be ready at some point during round 1. And knowing how much Gabe Vilardi has invested in this season, I expect him, if there's any way he can play at close to 100%, he'll be ready for game 1. But to your point, yes, the Jets have tons of options. And, 2 weeks ago, if I had told you the Jets would struggle to want to take Jared Anderson-Dolan out of the lineup before he'd even played a single game with the Jets, you would have looked at me like I was out of my mind. Now, Jared Anderson-Dolan has provided exactly what you want in a fourth-line player going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, where, you want some additional complementary scoring, but you want energy. You want physical nature. You want a smart defensive player. You want a guy who makes the right play the majority of the time. Of course, the sample size is small, but this is the kind of player Jared Anderson-Dolan is. He has playoff experience with the LA Kings, and he has done exactly what the coaching staff asked him to do after calling him up after what was a great training camp and a very tough season on a lot of fronts. This is a great example. Hassan, you and I were around the American League for a long time. Sometimes if you're a veteran player who expected to be in the NHL, you signed a 2-year deal, including a one-way contract in year 2, you go in expecting to make the team, all of a sudden you end up in the minors on a team that struggles. It can go one of two ways for you, Huss. You throw up the white flag and call it a lost season, or you do what Jared Anderson-Dolan has done. It sucks for him that he's wearing the green jacket in the American Hockey League, but guess what? His last 3 months were excellently played. He earned a call-up, and now he's pushing for game 1 consideration. That's what you do when you are disappointed. You don't give me the woe is me and say, oh, I'm getting screwed again. Organization doesn't believe in me, blah, blah, blah. Work your ass off and get yourself onto the team when it matters most. Anyway, sorry, I don't know where that rant came from, Huss, but
hey, we're here for it, Ken. There's always a stream of consciousness nature to our chats here on WST.
True enough.
And yeah, listen, Anderson-Dolan, and what's been so interesting about him, first of all, just credit to him, the touch pass.
Oh, amazing.
To KFC for 40 last night was absolutely beautiful. But that line, like, as much as Brandon Tanev has a huge role in this, he's finishing every single check. And we saw a more physical Jet team. And again, more and more just to let people know this team is ready for the playoffs, whatever incarnation that fourth line is. I want to move to the blue line for a minute.
Just wrapping it up on Anderson-Dolan. Yeah. He got rocked and he got right back up. This is a guy who, dog on a bone. Like, this is the type of player you want playing in the playoffs. And Huss, folks know how I feel about David Gustafson's game. He's a guy who I think should play more. But right now, Anderson-Dolan is faster and more physical. And when you're looking at what you want in a playoff lineup, that's why he has the edge right now. But when Vilardi is back, he's still probably going to be the odd man out. And I'm not sure. I mean, where's the scenario that Kapari gets back in? I mean, even though he has all the speed,
scenario is injuries. I mean, I would say for those guys. And listen, really good teams, really deep teams have good players that are playing below where they probably could play in the lineup, and many guys that could be playing for a lot of other teams in the press box.
Bang on.
That's what you want to be going into the playoffs. Flipping to the blue line, and Remo, maybe bang out a poll for this if you can for the people in chat. We'll do the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Ken, I want your thoughts on the Stanley-Schenn pairing last night. And I guess I'll preface this with saying that there was some skepticism, nerves on seeing that pairing together. And we saw when the team had their defensemen and the first unit coming out of the deadline was Stanley out of the lineup, and it was Schenn and Hayden Fleury. Now, last night, for the first time, we saw Schenn and Stanley play together. What did you think about them? But I guess the question for everyone is, what do you think is the ideal third pairing to begin the playoffs? Is it Stanley? Is it Hayden Fleury? Is Colin Miller potentially in? Just thoughts on that at the, who's playing with Luke Schenn to begin the playoffs?
Yeah, Huss, I mean, first and foremost, we've talked about this before, I think last week as well. I mean, Luke Schenn's not a third pairing guy, even though he rolled out on the third pairing. He played 19 minutes yesterday. Those are not third pairing minutes, right? We know part of that is penalty kill. We knew he was going to see some shifts with Dylan Samberg, as we saw, and we knew he would see some shifts with Josh Morrissey, Huss. And quite frankly, we would have seen more shifts with Schenn and Morrissey had the score not been 3-0 and then 4-0.
Agreed.
Right? I mean, Morrissey, it sounds ridiculous to say, Huss, but on his light night of ice time, I think it was 23-46. And that was in a one-sided blowout game. I thought that Josh would be in that 25 to 27 minute range yesterday. And, it's twofold. Part of that is the score effects. Part of that is that Logan Stanley looked pretty steady in his minutes, which is why he was closer to 15 than he would have been to 12 had it gone the other way. There's no easy answer, Huss, to what you're saying, and some of it will be matchup related. We're trying to tie together the clues. So the clue number one, in Luke Schenn's first game, his partner was Hayden Fleury, but it hasn't been Hayden Fleury very often since. Part of that has been injury related because of the Neil Pionk situation. What are we going to see in the last 3 games? That will give us a little better indication if it's going to be Stanley or if it's going to be Hayden Fleury. And you're right about Colin Miller, Huss. Although he had a little bit of a rough patch, including the game against LA when he was on the second pairing, Colin Miller's last couple games were also rock solid. Now, the only question mark being, can Colin Miller handle the minutes on the left-hand side as a right-handed shooting player? So all 3 players will be in consideration. I think the Jets will use all 3 in terms of what their grade A or optimal lineup for game 1. I'm not sure how they feel about it. I mean, I think it's Hayden Fleury by a whisker, but I mean, if Colin Miller goes into the office and says, hey, I can handle the minutes on the left side, of course he deserves consideration. He has had the best year of those 3 players. But, Logan Stanley has more size than those guys. I thought that they were imposing in their shifts, Huss. He doesn't always play with that size. We know that. But Hayden Fleury, also 6'4" guy with mobility. So I think you can make the case for all 3 guys, and I'm not trying to sit on the fence here.
Well, let me
ask you this, how they feel, to be honest.
Do you think it is opponent dependent?
Definitely.
Like, one of the conversations I had last night was, at the start, I was a little surprised that they were going Stanley Schenn for this big game against Dallas. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and as much as we know that Dallas has all this, all-world talent, they're not particularly fast. When you compare them to the Colorado Avalanche or teams like the Jets. So I thought maybe that is the spot. But, I mean, for instance, do you think it changes if they're going up against a St. Louis or a Minnesota as opposed to, say, a Colorado, which certainly the speed quotient of a team like Colorado is at a different level than maybe some of their other counterparts in the Central?
It's got to be a consideration, no doubt. And Fleury is the most mobile player of the 3. We know that, which is, again, why probably that's where I would be leaning, Huss. But for all of the notes that I got yesterday and emails and DMs and everything else about how that third pairing would be getting exposed in this game by the Dallas Stars, I didn't see a lot of exposure, Huss, or overexposure. Did you? I mean, they played a lot of minutes against, I think, the Wyatt Johnston, Jamie Benn line. I didn't see Jamie Benn imposing his will on Logan Stanley in that game. Now, he definitely was getting involved with Luke Schenn, as you expect him to do, but that line actually, that defense pairing held its own quite well. Now, again, those are, I wouldn't even say they're sheltered minutes. They were almost 15 minutes for Stanley. So those were not sheltered minutes. Stanley gets himself an assist, acquits himself very well. But the thing with Stanley, Huss, is we know, even though the coaching staff has shown an inordinate amount of, belief in him this year, when you're on the third pairing, you don't have a lot of room for error or margin for error. So no matter who it is, Huss, that job is still very much in flux. And again, we saw that last year, right? Look, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nate Schmidt held the job for about 65 to 70 games, And he was a healthy scratch in the first game for Logan Stanley, I think, last year against the Colorado Avalanche. So things are in flux there. I think that each of them bring a certain skill set which would allow them to have success no matter what the matchup is. But I think they're going to need all three of them, is what I would say, Huss, is sort of how I'm viewing that scenario right now. I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess Stanley because he's played the most games among those three players. But again, maybe Miller is quite close to that. And like I said, I think Hayden Fleury still can be a very effective partner for Luke Schenn. And the other thing too, Stanley probably gets a little bit of an edge because they see him as more of a penalty killer in that scenario. But Hayden Fleury's also had penalty killing minutes also, Huss. And the fact that we're talking about this much about the third pairing and the sixth defenseman goes to show how deep this hockey team is, right? I mean, most of the teams they'll be playing have question marks on the third pairing. And since Luke Schenn has arrived, that's not a question mark. And again, that's not a knock on Colin Miller, who had a very strong season, but Luke Schenn has brought an element to the Winnipeg Jets they did not have enough of on the back end. And that will allow either player who's playing with Luke Schenn to have a little bit more success, in my opinion.
Remis has the poll up right now, and it's pretty simple. Which defenseman do you think gets the call for game one alongside Luke Schenn? So it's Logan Stanley, it is Hayden Fleury, and keep in mind, if it's Colin Miller, that's assuming that Miller is moving over to the left side, playing his off wing. Something important to think about. Ken Wiebe's with us from the Winnipeg Free Press, a banging edition of KNR last night with Sean. By the way, we're pushing 700 in the chat right now. Let's get some thumbs up here. And if you're new, if you're checking in on the Jets, great to have you here. Hit that subscribe button. We're here every day, 1 p.m., Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. Central, that is, here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Kenny, any thoughts on the matchup for round one? I know there's still a point. Let's assume this is going the 99.9 percentile route. Minnesota gets their guys back. Eriksson Ek with 4, Kaprizov with 2 and 1 in that first game, albeit against the Sharks. But a huge offensive boost to Minnesota, or the team that the Jets just handled despite having run off 12 in a row. I mean, is there a tougher matchup? Is there one that would be better for the Jets? Or, I mean, is it 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in your mind?
Honestly, Huss, it doesn't matter who the Jets play. I sort of laid out this scenario a couple weeks ago on the show. And this is not that the Jets players would want this, but to me, there would just be an element of, I'm not sure what it is, but in the media, we look for the best story. The best story to me, Huss, is if the Jets are, and I might have said it on this show, not just our own show. I mean, if the Jets are going on a vindication playoff tour, would they not want it to be St. Louis, Colorado, and Vegas? I mean, come on. If it doesn't get juicier, of course not. But having said that, Minnesota provides enough of its challenges and intriguing storylines, and Dallas would do the same in the second round. So if the Jets, happen to get there. So is there a better matchup? Do the Jets match up better against either of those teams? I don't know. I mean, the Jets haven't really faced the Wild at full capacity for a while. The Blues have been on the magic carpet ride for, about 2 months, basically since coming out of Four Nations. But Huss, I also watched that game against the Edmonton Oilers 2 days after the game in Winnipeg, and St. Louis was a lot looser than we're used to seeing them. And hey, it's a great pass by Connor McDavid for the GWG. But Cam Fowler's got to have a stick in the passing lane there. That is just the way that it goes. This was a 2-on-2 situation. But again, St. Louis, they have a bit of an X factor. They've got Binnington. They've got the championship pedigree, even though Braden Shen said when he was here, they've only got 5 guys left. That's true. But they're back to playing to their identity. Now, the Wild have the same issue that they've always had. Good regular season team. And Huss, I would probably say this. Has a team endured more this season than the Minnesota Wild? They've played without a legitimate Hart Trophy candidate for a good chunk of the season. And their injury list has been extensive. Brodin, Foligno, Joel Eriksson Ek, cast of characters that have been in and out. So both of those teams are, again, we talked about this for weeks, and Craig said it as well. We thought this was going to be, if the Jets don't play Colorado in the first round, it's a much easier matchup. well, hang on a second. I think it's true based on the talent level of the Avalanche and the players they added and their own championship pedigree. But is it really that much of a drop-off to play a team that just rattled off 12-game winning streak during the stretch run to get themselves into the playoffs, or to face a Wild team that has had to – we've talked all year about the Jets kind of holding off Dallas. Man, Minnesota's been holding off 4 or 5 teams for an entire season while not being anywhere close to full capacity in terms of their roster. So I don't see an easy out for the Jets in the first round. Definitely their chances would be increased by facing the wild card team. That's obvious. But I don't see an easy out, and I've said this all along. If the Jets want to get to where they want to go, which is the top of the mountain, they're going to have to beat 4 damn good teams, Huss, and I will include the Wild and Blues as being damn good teams.
There's no pushovers in the West come playoff time. This
is not a Rangers versus
facts.
Capitals situation where somebody limps in as the 16th seed, barely over 500 and gets absolutely, bulldozed in the first round in 4 games. There's no opponent like that in the Western Conference this year.
No, there certainly isn't. And the East getting interesting too. We've got this, we're going to get to the cool bet lines in a bit, but Ottawa playing Montreal tonight. I mean, if Montreal beat Ottawa in regulation, they're just 1 point back and on the verge. We just need Toronto to win that division. I mean, I'm here for a Battle of Ontario, but a Toronto Leafs or a Toronto Habs series with Demidov. You see the scene with Demidov at the airport? Tony Marinaro with the live stream and the pandemonium around the arrival of Demidov.
Wild stuff.
Only with the Habs fan base.
And then Florida, Tampa too, right? I mean, come on. Let's talk about juicy storylines in the East. Let's go. Come on.
The playoffs are shaping up to be amazing. Do you have a thought right now on Dallas, Colorado? I mean, do you have a pick at this point before we get into it?
It's so interesting, Huss. I mean, both those teams, it's a coin flip series for me. You would probably usually lean to the better goaltender, which is Ottinger. But man, having been in the building when the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup in 2022, I've got a hard time voting against Nate McKinnon, Cale Makar, and Valerie Nichushkin. I'm sorry. I mean, the Jets had no answer for Nichushkin last year. And, playing the Stars is fairly important for a guy like Nichushkin who went an entire season without almost any offense and was told, thank you for your services. We're buying out the last year of your deal. And then went and became a top 6 player who won a Stanley Cup since that time. And, oh, by the way, I covered the last time Gabe Vilardi skated in a National Hockey League game and was lifting the trophy over his head. He's suiting up probably this evening or this weekend for the Colorado Eagles in terms of his comeback, which is coming on almost 3 years.
Landeskog.
Oh, yes, Gabe Landeskog. Yes, we've heard of that gentleman who wasn't even available last year when the Jets ran into the red-hot Colorado Avalanche. So I would be leaning Avalanche, Huss, but nothing would surprise me. I think that Dallas is a team that has knocked on the door plenty. I think Dallas, much like Winnipeg, went home in the summer last year and looked around at each other and I'll just tell you a little behind the scenes. I mean, Eric Francis from Sportsnet was covering the series last year for .ca. He literally said that even after Dallas had lost the series, they were looking around wondering, how did that just happen? We're the better team. So I don't think that was arrogance. I think that they just felt they were the better hockey club and they weren't able to get it done. So they've improved their team. Huss, what we saw last night was obvious. I mean, and Miro Heiskanen, if he's not ready for round 1, I mean, that defense core is vulnerable. There is no doubt about it. The Jets scored 3 of their goals against the third pairing last night. So without Heiskanen, they're a totally different team on the back end. So that's another reason why I would be leaning Colorado in that first round matchup. But man, underestimate Dallas at your own peril. I mean, we know the Jets handled them in 3 of the 4 games and quite handily in several of them. But Jim Nill's done a great job of building that team. They've got lots of, scar tissue of their own and playoff experience. So I just see, and Huss, you've said this for weeks, Jets, biggest benefit for the Jets would be to get in the first round matchup against Wild Card 2 and then watch the Stars and Avalanche beat each other up for 7 games, just like the Stars and Vegas Golden Knights beat each other up last year. which is also probably part of the reason why Dallas had not as much left in the tank when they faced Edmonton in the Western Conference Final as they thought they would have had they had an easier matchup in round one, which in a roundabout way goes back to your original question to me. Whoever the Jets play, they want to try to get that series done in 5 or 6 games. They don't want to be going 7 games in the first round because of the physical toll that will be exacted, along the way. I mean, any team that wins the Stanley Cup, you got to have one easier series, and not easier in terms of bulldozing a team, but in terms of not going the distance. We know it's going to be a physical series if the Jets play either Minnesota or St. Louis. So again, it just sort of goes back to 6 and 1, half dozen of the other. It's taken me 20 minutes to get to that answer, Huss, but I'm still going with it. It's a coin flip over who is the hotter team, and it'll be interesting to see, who gets the, again, everything looked like it was all St. Louis. And even in the St. Louis game, they seemed to be in control against Edmonton. And then all of a sudden they lose the game in regulation. And they went from, we think they're going to easily be wild card 1 to be looking up at Minnesota again. And they only got the 2 games left, I think. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched so much of Dallas over the last 3 weeks, like pretty much every game. And, and then, I mean, Colorado, they had a couple losses to St. Louis and last night to Vancouver. I think it's who's ever closer to their best probably comes out of that. But, with like Dallas, they have not looked great over this past week or so. And as I said, I mean, there was a white flag going up last night in the third period from that team as the Jets just, was it 17-4 the shots in the third period? I mean, a lot
but
to
again,
be
Huss,
excited.
my not so subtle reminder, the Jets beat Colorado 7-0 in game 81 last year, and that meant absolutely nothing when the series started after game 1.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
This is why I agree with you on Dallas. They don't look like themselves, but they're a team that's been able to crank it up when it matters before.
No, I agree. And hey, listen, I mean, these first round matchups are going to be incredible. We'll wait to see who the Winnipeg Jets play when that game is. And it's going to be a big week next week on Winnipeg Sports Talk, on KNR and the Winnipeg Free Press, and all around this city and province as we get ready for the whiteout next weekend. Kenny, have a great weekend. Who's holding up the green jacket on Sunday afternoon?
Oh, man, tough to bet against Rory despite the absolute crumbling down the stretch yesterday. I love the way he bounced back. Right now, looks like McElroy, 2 back of Rose. DeChambeau, -7. CC hanging around, -1 for the round, 5 under. So tied for 4th with Shane Lowry and Scheffler and a bunch of other folks. Huss, I was thinking of you. I know Matsuyama, one of your guys. How unlucky yesterday.
Dude,
Perfect shot off the flag. He's in the water. Are you kidding me? Instead of a 3, it's a double bogey. What is happening here?
That was that hole. I mean, it got Hideki, it got Cantlay, and it got Rory as well. This is going to be a real fun tournament, though, when we look at the leaderboard. We'll do that for Breezy Bend a little bit later on. Wiebe, have an awesome weekend. We'll look forward to catching you Sunday down at the rink and talking to you next week.
Yeah, Huss, great to be with you. And lastly, on the way out, I know you talked about it extensively with Craig. I mean, man, with both Draisaitl and McKinnon sitting down for the end of the year, the Hellebuyck candidacy seems to be on the rise here. I'm not saying he needs a shutout in his next start, but man, that Hart Trophy race is getting very interesting. And as again, I've said this all along, I think he's a top 3 candidate with ease. But 8 shutouts.
Do you vote?
I am definitely a voter. Yes, he definitely has a top 3 vote from me. I still have a week.
Whoa, wait a second.
Top
Can
3
you
vote
not
for
commit
sure
right now to
I can't
Hellebuyck
commit.
for
I need
Hart?
to see. No, I need to see what the last 2 games are. I think he is definitely in a good position to be number 1 on my ballot. I need to see.
What the hell does he have to do to win? He's got a season that no goalie's had in 40 years.
I know it's a big.
He's leading everything, and the team is the number 1 team in the league. What more do you need, Ken Wiebe?
I need to make sure that Connor plays well in his last 2 starts. Is what I need to see. I'm not expecting him to do anything other than do that. Earlier this week, Kemper had passed him in goals against average briefly. So good on Connor for rebounding. I think he is a very strong candidacy, and I'm still giving him strong consideration to be number 1, especially with what I just said. But those 2 other guys have had an exceptional year, but I agree with Craig. It hasn't been done in 40 years. It's incredibly impressive, and I'm kind of leaning Hellebuyck right now. But again, the beauty of this, you want to consider the entire picture, and that includes, I think, 2 more starts for Hellebuyck. And provided he does what he has done throughout the course of the year, he's got a good chance of being number one on my ballot and many others.
Listen, thank God we had Craig Button come in here with a take, an unequivocal opinion as to you. Listen, this does concern me because if the Winnipeg guy that watches this team every single game will not say, yeah, obviously it's the number one team, he's been the best player for the MVP. I mean, I do worry about some people outside of the market.
Well, again, that's always the beauty of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Huss,
we need
right?
you to be banging the drum and picking up the phone and cold calling other members of the PWHA to get these votes in right now.
We do a lot of this is part of the behind the scenes. There'll be a lot of calls in the next week before the votes are due, and I'm definitely going to be telling people that Connor Hellebuyck is, he's the most valuable player on the best team in the NHL. So, I mean, that's got to count for something. I mean. I'm not saying that what my vote counts for or my opinion, but definitely there will be
There's about 50 wake up Kens in the chat right now.
I love it. That's good. It's good. Like I said, he's definitely in strong consideration. Again, Huss, I mean, my job is to look at the whole picture.
He's in strong consideration. That's the understatement of all time. Well, listen, I'm going to be all over you about this for the next week or so until the end.
That's good.
Do you think when do you think he plays? Do you think he goes Chicago, Anaheim?
I do, yeah. I originally would have thought Comrie, but I think that, just based on, listening to Scott O'Neill talk, I
don't think they want to give him I don't think he wants to be off for a week before playing that
That's
game.
why I know historically the Jets have given him the last regular season game off. I don't see that being the case this week because I don't think he wants to be off for a week before the playoffs start. Agreed 100%. I'm not 100% sure if this was a Comrie start. I know it would have been a consideration, but I think the Jets are going to want to get that 1 point or two in the bank and then sort things out for the rest of the way. And like you said, so that way you play Saturday, you play Wednesday, and then if the series starts either Saturday or Sunday, obviously you're a little bit sharper. So.
All right, buddy, great stuff having you on the program. Thanks for doing this.
Have a great weekend. Sorry I opened that can of worms.
That's fine.
I didn't rule it out. I don't think it's as obvious as folks that happen to be Jets fans do. But I do think that he has definitely a darn good chance. And like I said, there is still a very good chance I have him number one. I applaud Craig for saying it's obvious to him. I think it's become more obvious as the other two guys have sat down for sure. And again, you should be rewarding a player for having a historical season on the best team in the National Hockey League, which is going to be part of my argument with my fellow PHWA brethren when these conversations will be happening.
You just get working on those arguments for your fellow PWHA brethren. Okay, we got to bring in JT.
Cheers,
He's been very patient. Thank you very much. There is Kenny Wiebe. Quickly, for fan feedback, for fans first, for everyone that's been popping into the chat, which defenseman will be in the lineup for playoff game one? Of course, fans first, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. It'll be busy for playoffs coming up. No added fees. What you see is what you pay. Check out the site, fansfirst.ca. Colin Miller's actually the favorite in this one, even with the move over to the left side. Little surprised by this. 49%. We've got Stan at 39%. Hayden Fleury at 13%. You can give us your thoughts. And then really the rest of the fan feedback is just wake up Ken. And Lucas said take his vote away. Many other shots at Ken for not endorsing 100% Hellebuyck for it. Fans first, fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, let's quickly bring in JT. I know I will have full support from Jamie Thomas from the Jets media crew for Hellebuyck for Hart. He's under 2 now for goals against, Jamie, leading in everything. The team's on top of the league. I mean, this is a slam dunk, shouldn't it be?
Well, now, so the whole thing where you theoretically look at all this stuff. So do the Edmonton Oilers survive without Leon Draisaitl? Absolutely. Do the Colorado Avalanche survive without Nathan McKinnon? Absolutely. Maybe not as much of a steamroller as they normally are with those two in the lineup, but you cannot go through this season, even if you're the best team and you have the best defensive group in front of you, without Connor Hellebuyck. So Jose Theodore won I can't remember what year it was. I thought Jerome McGinley got robbed that year. If Connor Hellebuyck doesn't get the Hart Trophy this year, he gets robbed. It's an all-time season. There's no question about it. I don't mind what Ken is saying because there's a lot of legitimacy to what it is, and you do have to take in all the candidates. And if Leon Draisaitl had been healthy all year long, and Nathan McKinnon, I still don't think that would have been enough. The Jets die without Connor Hellebuyck. Period. It's over.
Yeah. Although you know what's funny, and this is a credit to the team.
Yeah.
With the game in St. Louis. And even the game last night, although I thought he did make some big saves.
He did make some big saves, yes.
Did some big saves last night.
Mm-hmm.
But the game, especially against St. Louis, like if everyone was watching, okay, this is like, we'll see if this is the MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, he was the chairman of the board on Monday night. I mean, there was 15 shots. There was probably like 3 or 4 ones that you would consider dangerous all game. And ironically, that might hurt his candidacy because of how well this team's played in front of him. But to me, the numbers speak for themselves. And I think the number that the Jets needed for people just to really consider it is Winnipeg on the top of the NHL standings. And that's exactly where they are right now. Again, the President's Trophy would be nice, but it's winning the Central, winning the West, and they've all but done that right now. And and here's something that's fun, and we can have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the season the Jets have had, the numbers that he's put through on the regular season. Dare to dream about an incredible, very long playoff run that ends the way everyone wants it. He has the potential for one of the most historic seasons that we've seen in the history of the National Hockey League. I mean, when you tick off all of those boxes, I likened it to a 10-game parlay where the first 6 games are already in. I mean, there's a lot of work, a ton of work that still needs to happen and still needs to be done. But I mean, the body of work for 37 from game 1 to game 79 has been, frankly, historic.
Yeah. If he, like another thing too, if he finishes with below 2 goals against average, that's just like unheard of nowadays. And I know it's a lot harder to score than it was in Gretzky's day.
The 199, I think the 199 carries a lot of weight with the voters, if you know what I mean. I mean,
it has to, and like 8 shutouts stop. Like I mean, I know it's back and forth with him and Darcy Kemper with goals against average, but it's just, I would take Connor Hellebuyck over top of Darcy Kemper anytime. Darcy Kemper's having an amazing season, but he's also playing in one of the most boring systems and like where hockey goes to die in Los Angeles. At least there's some type semblance of entertainment with the way the Winnipeg Jets play. So lock him in right now for Hart Trophy. I know I work for the team, but I just see him day over day, night over night. Players will run out of ways to describe how great he is. That's the only thing really going right now. So unless something falls apart here over the next 3 games or whatever starts you want to say he ends up doing with 2 starts.
As Remis mentions, Helly's played 13 more games than Kemper. And to be honest, and this is why I totally disagree with Ken. Like, you think that the last game of the season and a nothing game against Anaheim that he's only playing so that he can, doesn't have to wait or rest, like that should really be the bearing on the MVP? Like, it doesn't
Ken
matter.
Takes everything in. Ken takes all information in.
Yes,
the one
I know. We're just giving him a hard time. Not as much as the chat's giving him a hard time right now. But
well, they're allowed that opinion. But I just want, as everyone knows, Ken is the master of taking in all information.
Yes.
Right? Like he is an information hub. If you need information on anything, Ken's got it for you for good reason. That guy absorbs more than I can think of in 2 days. So but to me, it's just cut and dry about who this is.
Hey, I know you got to run, and thanks again for jumping on. 2-parter just on the way out. I mean, listen, it's been a magical season. The playoffs are coming up next week. Just give us the vibe around the office in downtown Winnipeg right now with everyone that's part of the organization, and tee up. I'm sure you, Sarah, the entire team are just as geared up for the playoffs as the fans are, and fill us on what you guys are going to be working on and what we can look forward to heading into next weekend.
Oh, well, first off, like Sarah just showed me a preview of the next runway. It's unreal. Like I got chills listening to it. So, and it makes you want to like run and out buy playoff tickets. Not that that's anybody needs any extra push to do so. But the music they have behind it, they're talking to Connor Hellebuyck. They're just, it's unreal the way they've set it up. So very good. Like I swear to you guys, you'll probably one of your favorite runways coming down the road. I only saw like 5 minutes of it, but it's outstanding. And then like ground control's done, but Sarah and I, of course, have the pregame show the best part about playing either St. Louis or Minnesota, the time zone will not be an issue in this one. So it's just like 12:30 Central Time, right before you guys will help set up everything before Winnipeg Sports Talk kicks off at 1 o'clock. But that's and on Wednesday, we're giving away tickets to the street party, the Whiteout Street Party. The news conference they had outside the other day, even though it was freezing cold outside, was amazing. You can tell that people are very excited. And then, of course, Sarah's going to be on the road with the team during the entire playoffs. So they're looking forward to how that all, and hopefully it's a long, long playoff run for us to keep doing this for. So I'm ready. I'm rested. Let's have a long run. Let's just do this. Let's have a million shows.
I imagine the vibe in the office rolling in today after that win was a pretty fun one.
My gosh. So I don't know how people felt about the game on Monday. And here's the thing. After what we've seen from Winnipeg, how they bounced back against Florida, how they answered the bell against Dallas twice, how they beat Vegas in Vegas, like there shouldn't have been any question about how well they're going to play against St. Louis on Monday. And then yesterday, I know people may be gun shy, but you can't tell me that they were going to build off that. They smelled blood yesterday, and they gave Dallas nothing. Like I think you're right. I think Maverick Bourque had 2 good chances, and that's it. That's all there was. So, and the fact that the majority of their goals came off mistake turnovers by the Dallas Stars and the Jets end, and the transition game kicks in, they own that game from the time they drop the puck. This team is ready to go. They have learned their lessons. It's special. You have the best goalie in the world. You're allowing under 30 shots a game right now. You beat 2 very good hockey teams in the last 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no further questions.
Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy the 2 games this weekend. Maybe we'll see you on Sunday down at the rink. And let's connect next week as we finish it up with the Big Fan Appreciation Game on Wednesday. And then drop the puck on the Stanley Cup playoffs in front of a whiteout at Canada Life Center. Have a great one, Jamie. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, buddy. Enjoy your weekend, man. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
You too. There's JT, Jamie Thomas, and again, the check-in on game days, 12:30 p.m., running right into Winnipeg Sports Talk. Holy smokes, we're over 700 in the chat. This is amazing. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button, everyone, so you're eligible to win the WST hoodie that will be given away coming up in the marble race. And if you are new and you're wondering what's going on in the chat, just hang around. Put an exclamation mark marbles. We're going to have a little fun at the end of the program. And all you regulars know what is coming. This could be a record-breaking marble race today, considering the amount of people that are live with us on YouTube and in the chat. Great stuff from Ken and Jamie. Appreciate them joining us. Let's see. We got to do a couple things here. We will get to a Breezy Bend leaderboard report in a minute. Do not forget, everyone, if you haven't already entered the playoffs in the PEG contest that we're putting on with our friends at CoolBet, what you need to do is get to our @SportsTalkWPG Twitter account. You will see the pinned tweet, or go over to our Instagram account, also @SportsTalkWPG. Follow the instructions and enter to win playoff tickets courtesy of CoolBet and Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll be picking finalists from all the entries and doing special marble races to give away playoff tickets. The first one will be on Thursday, coming up next week. So tell your friends, get everybody you know to enter in, and hopefully you'll be in one of those races and maybe winning tickets to one of the playoff games. Hey, speaking of the playoffs, I mentioned Royal Sports. Get on down to Royal this weekend. The whiteout section is being picked over pretty good, I think, as people get ready for next week. White jerseys, white hoodies, white player T-shirts, white hats, white toques, white fan chains. They have it all. The biggest and best selection of white Jets merch you were going to find anywhere is waiting for you at Royal Sports. And while you're at it, they got a big sale on e-bikes right now, up to 50% off. So you can go into the back and check those out, and everything else coming in for spring. But the focus right now for Jet fans when they're heading to Royal, Get me to that whiteout section and get me ready for the playoffs. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway, at Royal Sports Winnipeg on Instagram as well for the latest over at the store. Big night at BP Taylor with the IC crew last night. I think all the Boston pizzas were packed around the city for the big win over Dallas. And it's only going to get cranked up more as we get into the playoffs. And, of course, we've got 2 Jets games this weekend. Tomorrow against Chicago. Sunday night, a home game against the Edmonton Oilers. If you're not at the building, your next best place to be is Boston Pizza, pick-a-player contest, ice-cold schooners, BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. And if you are staying at home, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Of course, the weekend is here. If you're popping by your local Manitoba liquor marts to stock up for the weekend, make sure you check out Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, the original since 1848, and the official spirit of the Winnipeg Jets. Now, if you're waiting, or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Winnipeg Sports Talk, I should say, if you have been waiting to toast that Central Division Championship, the first title in Winnipeg Jets history in the division, and a Western Conference 1 seed, chances are you'll be able to do that officially tomorrow night. So get your Canadian Club ready for that. And we'll look forward to cheersing all of you as CC and Ginger at Princess Auto Stadium cheering on the Bombers this summer. All right, speaking of the weekend, we might be cracking a couple cold ones as well for Saturday and Sunday night games when we do that. Speaking of local, let's give a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brew, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, now we've got marbles coming up. We got to get to the cool bet lines, but first up, let's get to our Breezy Bend Golf Report, brought to you by Breezy Bend, one of Winnipeg's top private courses and the host of the 2025 Manitoba Open. Cannot wait to get out there and do shows from the Open this year at Breezy Bend, and for many of you to see the incredible work they've done on the golf course and the clubhouse. If you want more information on getting on the waiting list at one of Manitoba's top private clubs, they make it a long-term home for you and your family. Give Corey Johnson a call over at the clubhouse, and you can find out more online at breezybend.ca. Well, listen, Justin Rose, who had that monster 7-under opening round, hung tough today. A 1-under round to 71, and he is in the clubhouse with the lead. 1 shot ahead of Bryson DeChambeau, who was 4-under. He sits at 7 under par. Now, we've got a big group, not a huge group at 6. But guess what? Rory McIlroy went 6 under today after that really disappointing end to his round yesterday. Rory sits just 2 shots back off of the lead, tied with defending champion Scotty Scheffler, who's 6 under par, making the turn right now to the second 9. McCarty's at 5 under. Shane Lowry had a nice 4 under round today. He's at 5 under. And Canadian Corey Connors just got to 6 under, gave one back on 12. He's sitting at 5 under, along with Jason Day and Tyrrell Hatton. Couple of other notables, Sungjae Im and Ludwig Oberg both stumbled down the stretch. They're at 3 under. Hideki Matsuyama is 3 under. He's finished this round. Patrick Reed, 3 under as well. And then a group at 2 under, including Xander Schauffele, Tommy Fleetwood, Sahith Theegala, and Colin Morikawa as well. As far as the other Canadians, it looks like there will be, I'm just looking for Nick Taylor. I believe he was going to make the cut. I think Mike Weir's 4 over. The expected cut is at 2. So Corey Connors pretty much assured of being there on the weekend. And Nick Taylor finished at even par, so he will play the weekend in the Masters. There's your Breezy Bend Masters report today. We'll wrap the tournament on Monday and what a sports weekend we've got. Like, if you're into the Masters, you've got it all day, and then 6 o'clock Jet games tomorrow in Chicago, and then here against the Edmonton Oilers on Sunday. It is going to be a beauty, and it's going to be less than 2 weeks before we're swinging it again out at Breezy Bend this year. Looking forward to that. All right, last call for marbles, everybody. If you just popped in a little late, get it in now. I'm going to head over to the Coolbet lines and check out what is cooking at Coolbet for the weekend. NHL tonight, there are 5 games. One big game, I mentioned this with Ken. Montreal is in Ottawa tonight. Ottawa's a minus 143 favorite. Habs plus 121. A Montreal win would bring them within 1 point of the Ottawa Senators. And if that happens, both teams will have 3 games left. All bets are off when it comes to who's going to finish first if Montreal can win that game tonight. And listen, Toronto, if they can hang on to the division, will get either Montreal or Ottawa in the first round. I mean, sign me up for that. Other games tonight, Jersey home to Pittsburgh, Jersey minus 192. Tampa minus 303 favorites at home to the Detroit Red Wings, looking to get a little closer to the Leafs. The Edmonton Oilers are huge favorites at home to the Sharks, minus 417. And then Calgary's playoff lives hanging in the balance. They need a regulation win against the Minnesota Wild. The Wild, minus 123 favorites. Calgary, plus 105. If you're wondering about the Hart Trophy odds, well, these have been moving throughout the day. When I woke up, Connor Hellebuyck was minus 111, and Leon Draisaitl was still minus 145. When I did the lock shop, Hellebuyck had moved to minus 125, and Draisaitl minus 110. And now Connor Hellebuyck is minus 130 to win the Hart Trophy. So while Ken will not get off the fence right now, it seems the bookies are. And Connor Hellebuyck is once again the favorite to win the Hart Trophy. Leon Draisaitl just south of even money at minus 102. One great thing, and you'll be able to take advantage of this all weekend long, is live betting on the Masters. The updated odds to win the tournament. Scotty Scheffler plus 225. Rory McIlroy plus 375. Bryson DeChambeau plus 420. And then Rosie at 11-1, Hatton 16-1, and you can still get Corey Connors at 20-1 to win the tournament, and Shane Lowry at 22-1. Hard to imagine that it's not going to be Scotty or Rory or potentially Bryson, though, and the odds indicate as much. You can jump on that. For you UFC fans, this is your final chance to enter in the Coolbet contest to go to the UFC 315 in Montreal. All you got to do is go to the promo tab, opt in, and for every $25 UFC bet, you'll get an entry into the draw. That is, I believe, going to be announced next week, so good luck to all of you. And again, of course, you've got the free bet and get, where if you bet 25 on UFC, regardless of whether you win or lose, you get a free $25 bet after the weekend. So I would take advantage of that as well and get your name in for the contest at no risk. We'll crank out probably a WST exclusive for tomorrow's game. So pop back by Coolbet. And of course, we'll get ready for the playoffs next week in the lock shop and right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But the most important thing that Jet fans need to know about Coolbet is the contest for the playoffs in the PEG. As we mentioned, go to our social medias, Sports Talk WPG, Twitter and Instagram. I would suggest entering it on both. And we'll be drawing names for our first marble race to see who is going to the first game of the playoffs coming up on Thursday here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, let's get Remis back in here before we dive into marbles. I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody supercharge the chat like Ken Wiebe, with him not being willing to commit to Hellebuyck as the vote for the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, the last time the chat was that fired up was when Matt Larkin was on, and he didn't have Scheifele and Morrissey on Team Canada, on his Team Canada Daily Faceoff for Four Nations. Morrissey made the team, Scheifele just missed, but the chat, it was moving very fast. And as Jamie Thomas said, Ken's got to gather all the information. He's waiting until game 82, Huss. For all the games to be played, for the resumes to be completed, and only then can he evaluate who he will put in on his Hart Trophy ballot. And we will give Ken's Hart Trophy vote a marble in the marble race today.
Yeah, well, okay, let's do that. Let's do that just to make sure that needs to happen. I mean, the fact that the Jets won that game last night and are now basically home free. I mean, like, so what if they just said, you know what, we're not going to play him the rest of the way and rest him for the playoffs? Does that mean that he's not the MVP? I mean, they've basically done everything they needed to do. Like, it's hilarious that he's probably going to play that final game of the regular season just because of the schedule. You don't want to be off for that long. And, you know, that game when everyone's eating free hot dogs and winning like a Jets ukulele in the stands is going to determine the Hart Trophy. I have a hard time buying into that. To me, it's over after last night. But obviously the members of the PWHA will be the ones that determine that. I appreciate Button coming on with a strong take as opposed to Kenny tiptoeing up and down the WST fence and not being willing to put his support behind the MVP, hashtag Helly for Hart.
I got to be honest. I was a bit on the fence before, but Craig Button later, yeah, so what? He's played a little less games. He's played more minutes than anyone. The numbers speak for themselves. First in the major goalie categories. I mean, his record in games that matter and opponents like Colorado and Dallas, incredible. The shutouts. I don't know how he wouldn't be on the ballot. I don't think anyone has had like that exceptional of a season. It is amazing to me that Kucherov is tied in the Art Ross. He might even win it because McKinnon's not going to play. No one's talking about Kucherov, which seems strange to me. But Hellebuyck leading all the major categories. It's got to be him. I think.
Well, you know what?
He sealed it yesterday.
Maybe Kucherov will get 4 points in game 82, and then vault into MVP consideration. I mean, this is a season-long award. I mean, and I've said this a number of times, so apologies if you're sick of it, but if a guy that is doing something that hasn't happened in 40 years, leading the league in wins, leading the league in shutouts, leading the league in save percentage, leading the league in goals against average, wins 45 games, flirting with the all-time record, 8 shutouts on a team that is the number 1 team in hockey. If that goalie cannot win the MVP, just tell us that goalies aren't eligible for the award, because I don't think they're, like, to me, I can't believe that we aren't talking about a guy that is a minus 800 favorite right now as opposed to minus 125. But he's done the job, and I think the historical nature of this season for Hellebuyck individually and the team can only grow if they can do some special things in the playoffs. But as far as this regular season, you'd have to go back a long, long way. And let's not forget, Theodore won the MVP. Price won the MVP. Dominic Hasek won multiple Harts and never did what Hellebuyck is on the verge of doing. So I don't know how he's not the guy. But again, I will admit I'm biased, as many of us are here on in the WST chat. You
know, one thing that you didn't mention when you did the Royal Sports read, I'm very excited to see this Winnipeg Jets division, title merchandise. That is the best thing about, when your team wins a championship. You get all this sweet merch. I see people rocking the Bombers Grey Cup merch and Winnipeg Jets, playoff in the past year, but we've never had division winner merch. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, Huss.
I'm going to text him right now, and then just see when it is available. But yeah, that is one thing that there is no Winnipeg Jet fan in existence, 1.0 or 2.0, NHL has ever had a division champion hat or T-shirt or anything like that. Now, again, I know that's not the goal, but
no, it's cool. You want that?
I mean, listen, you want a piece, you want it all the way. Like when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2019, I got like an AFC West division champs, and it just said the West is not enough. And it's still one of my favorites, even though I've got Super Bowl championship TDs and T-shirts and others. It all starts with the division. So that's going to be coming. They've got some other cool stuff, white stuff coming in for the playoffs. So again, get down to Royal very soon and make that happen.
There's Royal Sports says it will ship the day after we clinch. So,
okay.
And again, it's been like years in the making. We should have had that in 2019. 2018 was just short. The last 2 years, you've had the second half slide. This is the year they put it all together. One thing from the season we haven't talked about, which is maybe one of the more interesting stats, Hustler. Mikko Rantanen, total non-factor in last night's game.
Did he play last night?
Well, I saw Dylan Sandberg taking him down in the corner. He was on his ass. But how about this? So because he was traded twice, he played 7 games against the Jets this year. 4 with Colorado, 1 with Carolina, 2 with Dallas. 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist for Mikko Rantanen. What does he make him? 11 million. I do wonder if that trade, Huss, really shook up the balance in Dallas. They were rolling. They had these lines together. And now you bring in the guy, and everyone's like, hey, this guy, we're not good enough? You didn't think we were good enough here? This guy who's just been riding a shotgun with McKinnon, he was nothing in Carolina. And Dallas, I think he's been okay. And to be fair, Dallas did rip off some huge heater after they lost to the Jets. But I do wonder about disrupting the room. They're bringing in a guy like that when they were already doing so good. You gave up 2 first-round picks. I think the trades worked out for everyone. I think it worked out for Colorado. I do think it worked out for Carolina. And it's going to work out for Dallas, I think. But maybe for this year, do they really need to do that? They were such a great team before.
Well, I'll say this. I don't really think it worked. You can argue that it worked out for Carolina long term. They got Logan Stankoven, talented young guy. But they gave up Nakash. I don't think Carolina is better now to win the cup this year than they were before they made that trade. And while I definitely do think Dallas offensively is more dangerous, having Rantanen in the lineup as opposed to Stankoven, their issue is on the blue line. And we saw Barron burn their 6th defenseman last night. Now, is that guy in the lineup if Heiskanen's in? Probably not. But injuries are a part of the game, and they're missing, one of their most important players. And they're going to probably have to find a way to beat the Avalanche in round number 1 without Miro Heiskanen. And, I'm leaning Colorado in that series, but 2 really, really good teams that could go either way. All right, let's get to some marbles.
Yeah, I got a good track. I got a good one. I was scouting tracks. You got to play a song first, right?
I love it. Yeah, let's get the song. Okay, let's play the song and come back. And I'm very interested to see how many people are in this race. I think we might be setting a record today. Let's go. Tristan Rivers music, Marble Race, Victory Friday on WST in the Peg.
It's Friday.
All right, it is marbles time. How many, put me in, please, all caps. Who,
Yeah, not that many marbles, Has. I think we got some shy people in here that don't
you guys missed out.
Want to type in the command. Only 257 marbles. We got like 642 people watching. We peaked at over 700 in the chat, which was awesome.
Hey, people were fired up. We knew this was going to be a huge show. By the way, I just got a text from Munsey for you golfers out there. Get this. And it looks like the weather is going to be nice. Southside Golf Course, I'm not exactly sure where that is, but Southside Golf Course opened today. And Munsey says Shooter's Family Golf Center opens tomorrow. So if you're looking to swing it, swing it this week, Shooters.
Is it
named after Shooter McGavin?
Is it named after Shooter McGavin? Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking of which, we still haven't done our stream of you playing me in PGA 2K25.
We're due. I have practicing
as Shooter McGavin.
I'll be if I can be Shooter. I got to figure out how to unlock that, but I am good. Maybe
I think he's just there. I don't think you need to unlock it all.
Oh, good, because
they have his real name though. They don't call him Shooter McGavin. They call him Chris something.
Chris McDonald.
Yes.
Video games today has I just want to pick it up and play. The options to create a guy in that game are so detailed. They pick his eye shape, nose, mouth, hair, clothes. I just want to pick up, turn it on, and play. You can't do that anymore. You got to download updates. I did all that, but I did love the game. It is. I did create a guy. I did create a guy. Pick my. You get to pick the brand of merch, which was pretty cool. So
I've got the 2K sponsorship now, and I'm ready. My guy. What is your guy's name? Did you just name it yourself?
I'm a dope. I'm just the dummy who names it their own name. I'm the only dummy out there. Everyone's got some cool tag. I'm just my real name, like an idiot.
If you're out there on the on those PGA 2K25 streets, and you come up in a head-to-head matchup against Andy Eagles,
that's your name.
You're dealing with me, yeah.
Because your name's Andrew, but it's Andy for short, and Eagles because you hit Eagles.
That's what I'm going for every time. Every time I'm looking for an eagle. So there you are. By the way, I actually think I've got an extra code for that game. If you're a PS5, or you are Steam, you can fire me a DM at Hustlerama, and I'll pick a winner, and I'll fire you out a code in the DM. Shout out to the 2K people for firing that up. We need a 3-way action. I'm going to get Connor hooked up, and then the three of us can have a match.
We should do. Well, next week, there's not a lot of games. Maybe playoff preview or something like that. So I'm
just a matchup. It'll be the WST version of the Masters. All right. Anyways, let's do it. We've got a new course today. What is this course called? The new track?
Animated Airy Adventure.
I like it.
Animated Airy Adventure, and we have 274 marbles.
We didn't break the 300 barrier, but we're still quite high.
Is that the right number? Okay, wait.
How about Bernhard Langer still hanging around, even par, trying to make the cut?
Man, Freddie Couples is hitting eagles out there. Speaking of Freddie Eagles at Augusta, so I got it on here. I got the tablet plugged in with the TSN coverage, and they do a great job every year.
Okay, load this up. I'll just give people a bit of an idea about what's happening on the cut sweat here. So the projected cut now is 2 over par. Guys on the number right now, my guy Tony Finau, he is there. Benny On, Danny Willett, JT Poston, and they're all still on the course. So they cannot afford to go any more over par right now if they want to make the cut. Guys that are in at 2 over that should be playing the weekend: John Rahm, Akshay Bhatia, Patrick Cantlay, JJ Spawn, Charles Schwartzel. Phil Mickelson has got down to 1 over par right now. He's got 8 holes to go, so he'll look to stick around and play the weekend. And yeah, there's Freddie Couples. Freddie is 1 over. He's got 5 holes left, looking to stay in there and make the cut. Other guys that are looking good to be there: Zach Johnson, Sahith Theegala is in at even, so he'll be playing the weekend. Evans, Max Homa, Canadian Nick Taylor, Daniel Berger, Matty Fitzpatrick, Wyndham Clark with a big round today. He started off 4 over and was 5 over at one point, but had a great back 9. He'll be playing the weekend. He is in at even par. Spieth and Thomas are 1 under right now. Min Woo Lee's 1 under. Colin Morikawa, Bubba Watson, Sam Burns, and then obviously the group near the top. Rory McIlroy in at 6, DeChambeau in at 7, Rose in at 8. Those are your top 3 in the clubhouse. Corey Connors just got that birdie right back. He's 6 under. Tyrrell Hatton is 6 under. And, Scotty Scheffler bogeyed 10, so he's at 5 under. Group at 5 includes Shane Lowry, Jason Day, and Scotty Scheffler. All right, let's get to the track and let's do some marbles, Remo.
Yeah, doing the marbles. I'm loading them in. We got, I don't know if my thing was broken, but we have more than it was listed. We have 278 marbles in.
I love it. Is this a Dylan track?
No, this one is made by Unicorn, I think. Animated Area Adventure, made by Unicorn 0277. Interestingly enough, we have 277 marbles in the track. Oh no, we got 270. Should I delete one so we can match it, or who really cares?
I think we're good.
Are you that superstitious?
But you got me in, right?
In all capitals.
Beautiful. I got to go up against my buddy Boozer today with our daily bet. All right, here we are. So it's the Animated Area Adventure. The winner, we've got that exclusive WST hoodie for our Marbles champions that we'll have for you. I know there's a couple people that I sent out emails to that haven't yet picked up their hoodies. So if you were thinking about it, this weekend might be a good time to do that in the afternoon. Let me know. But without further ado, let's fire this up. 278 marbles in the hopper. New course. Vibes are high. Jets are going to the playoffs. Clinch weekend coming up. Here we go. The marbles are dropped on WST. Good luck to everyone. I like these big drop-offs. What do we call this thing that they're going into?
I don't know. This isn't quite Plinko. I don't have an answer.
No, it's not Plinko. I don't know. In the chat, if you got it, how do we describe this apparatus of the start of this track? Let's see who's coming out first. We've got Victoria, Royster, Michael Sofer, Bart Oman seem to be amongst the group right in front. We've got the stairs. TTT Bone. Wayne Gretzky's in the mix. But Michael Sofer, Royster, and Victoria Nather first. I see Rick Fair popping in. Jennifer G. T. Will's in the mix. Oh, now we have Rat River Rebel coming down this first cylinder from one to another. Now they're going to be coming over into the orb. Oh, Sean Clark, Matt Hyman. Oh, Matt, sorry to see you get top roped so early. Coach Mike as well. Couple more falling marbles. But we've got Rat River Rebel. And, look at Comet. Comet's right there. Ben Tom. Now, who's going to come out of the orb first? Darth Skater's in there. I see Nicholas. But the big question is, who's getting out first? And we do have a leading
living
marble.
Being?
Living Being is in first place right now. Living Being actually with a nice little bit of a lead right now. Coming down a spiral staircase, if you will, into a heart. Will they go left? Will they go right? Actually, just sort of waiting. Splandorf and Curtis Perkins coming up. Jet Fan 24. Victoria's still there. But Living Being is right now in first place, making a move around with a little bit of a lead over the rest of the contenders. However, there's been a bit of a pit stop here, and now everyone's bumping and getting a little bit jumbled here. I think Splandorf actually has taken over the lead. Curtis Perkins, Michael Sofer in the mix. But Splandorf right now the lead. I see Moose 3's in the mix, Kelster as well. Now we're coming down to another heart shape. Michael Sofer now has the lead. former member of the trivia juggernaut Vibraslap from my Elephant and Castle trivia hosting days. What's up, Michael? Billy Blast, Brad Woods now in the mix. But Michael Sofer is there, and Sofer is the winner. Shout out to Vibraslap. Michael Sofer, our winner. Mike Ladarney, second place today. And a very, very solid run by Splandor from top to bottom, start to finish. Great, great performance by Splandorf. All right, as the rest of the marbles come in, the rest of the top 10, Mike Cochran, Winnipeg, was 4th. Smokey, number 5. Curtis Perkins, 6th. 7 is Rick Stockley, 8 is Brad Woods. Chucker came in 9th. And Retro Dad Gamer, with all the numbers and underscores in his tag, finished up number 10. We'll get through everything else in the top 10. We'll see. Is anyone going to get burned? Yep. Last few marbles got incinerated. And there you have it. Michael Sofer. I do believe that's Michael's first victory here with us on WST. All right, let's cruise down and see how everybody else did. There's Bravo Bryant, 12. Victoria Nather, nice run. Top 15 performance. Jets number 1, Wayne Gretzky. There's Candace Jane. Derek McGoran, 22nd. Pretty nice. Rat River Rebel. See, there's Billy Blast. Eagle Eyes, who's had some good runs. There's Bridget Royal Sports in there. The Yak Man. WST legend Les Thompson. What's up, Les? There's Russ Lowen and Craig Smith. Mitch Razanzoff, recent winner. Mitch is going to pick that his hoodie up relatively soon. There's Kibbins. Kibbins DM'd me last night after the game. All fired up. Wants the President's Trophy. Wants all the banners. There's Tiquana Pauly and Jet Oil Tom.
Hey, if they win the President's Trophy, is there a President's Trophy merch at Royal Sports?
I doubt it.
I don't think there'd be a big...
Bozeman. Shorn, I think you got me today. I haven't seen Hustler yet. There's Jennifer S., Wicked John, Running Man in the mix. There's Hustler. You got me today, Shorn. I'd been on a bit of a run, though, of wins, eating into my my large lead in our head-to-head battle. There's Tristan Rivers Music, Gene Okerlund, Dan Fan Robertson, Cosmic Tales MB. What's up, Cosmic? Probably see you in the lobby sometime this weekend. Wilf's World, there's Drewsman, Frosty Winnipeg, The Knoll. The Knoll had a huge performance in the poker tourney last time. Amanda as well. Not a good one for two-time champion Amanda. Kind of expected more, to be honest. But anyways, overall, great race, great week. Mm-hmm. Great win last night, and a great show today. They don't get much more fun than this one today, Remo, considering what happened. The only way I think the energy and the excitement could be cranked out further than what we had today is playoff wins, which hopefully are going to be coming starting next weekend right here in Winnipeg in the Whiteout.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of fun, I don't know if you saw this. There was a lot of fun being had in our Discord server last night during the game. And if you're not in there, it's just a place where chatters who are in our YouTube chat right now, they keep the conversation going, when we're not live. A lot of friendships and funny jokes have been made in there. And a shout out to chatter Wayne Gretzky, who was having a lot of fun with AI last night. I don't know if you saw this, Huss. He tweeted this out. I'm going to bring this up here. I guess there's something where you can say, make this picture, but have it be the Muppets. And it's, here's us as Muppets. I don't know if you saw this. Put it out on social media. This is so dead on here. I think it's got you in your playoffs hoodie and your headphones.
Yeah, a Jet playoff one.
This one was too good, and it just turned into endless making of Muppets. So here's Kenny and Rennie as Muppets. I loved this one. Sean's got the headband on, and there's Ken
in the golf shirt.
In his golf shirt. I thought this one was very well done. Okay, there's then he did. Okay, here's Illegal Curve as Muppets. I really enjoyed this one.
Man, it's that AI. Like, that actually really does look like those guys. Everyone.
Drew Mindell. Yeah, he did not like it on social media. I'm not sure why. I thought
the
these
Ezzy one. I can't tell if that's Ezzy or Sesame Street Ezzy.
And then there was here's Ruwicki from his performance on the show. This is Ruwicki with the hair. This got the hair and the blue shirt. Oh man, this is too good. And then I guess he pumped in John Liu. Here's John Liu.
Amazing. Perfect hair, well dressed. John Liu is the fashion plate of the Winnipeg media.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
There's a couple more. Like here's.
Oh, keep them coming.
Okay, this is Spency. He was shown on. This is Spency. Okay.
These are so good.
This is listeners Jet Oil Tom and Les Tomset last night at Boston Pizza.
What's up, boys?
And then where's the other one? It was this was Drew and Dave during their show at Boston Pizza. And what was the other one? Hold on, what was the other one?
Folks, if you're actually listening to this on the podcast, you have to get to the YouTube and just get to the end of the show. And that's Gregory.
That's Gregory and Candace last night at the Illegal Curve watch party.
GFL?
Yeah.
All business. The professional. He was in the suit?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And his patented black cowboy hat as the sheriff of the Winnipeg sports fan streets. Looking good there, Greg.
Everyone's asking for Hacksaw. We don't have Hacksaw. I do have the second Kenny and Rennie one. Was it this one? Oh, yeah, this one. I like the other one better. I don't know if I like this one as much. Wayne Bretzky in chat says, I had way too much fun. He was just there, like, just pumping out these Muppet things, and we were all howling.
Incredible work. Incredible work. Should we play the Gary Lawless commercial? I know there were some people in there that wanted us to address this. Hey, listen, Gary. Some people have called me the Connor McDavid of ad reads, which was a very, very great compliment. Gary and I, through our work together for a long time, would do that. I would usually do reads and promos and those sort of things, but Gary does have that club in his bag, and who is this for again? Some sort of like house washing or like an air pressure
Stucco
washing
LV.
company?
Yeah, it's too bad they're not in Winnipeg. It's called Cleaner Up LV. And Gary's...
This emerged on social media. Gary now is the pitchman for this stucco cleaning LV. And I mean, listen, Gary's our friend, everyone. There's been a few people talking about this. We'd be remiss if we didn't give this a quick play. Royal Sports said there is President's Trophy merch there as well. So assuming that is
yes.
If and when that does happen.
What about Hellebuyck, like double trophy Vezina Hart merch? I'm sure that'll be
just sitting there with all the trophies at the end of June, if you know what I'm saying.
I used to have those cards in the Score 91 set. It was Brett Hull, I think, was in there with some trophies. Did Dirk Graham win a trophy that year in the Score 91 set? Mario Lemieux, didn't he? Like Gretzky?
I don't know. Dirk Graham, maybe he won the Selke.
Lemieux, I don't remember Dirk Graham. I got to pull out a Dirk Graham reference here.
By the way, there is Gretzky. If you're still with us right now, people are demanding a Gary Lawless Muppet
and
Sesame
Hacksaw
Street character and Hacksaw as well.
Throw
but
in
anyways,
the Discord.
Remis, let's play this. This is Gary pimping stucco washing in Vegas. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Gary Lawless with Cleaner Up LV. Alvaro is cleaning the stucco of this customer's house. If your stucco gets dirty, and it does in Las Vegas, we have the tools and the skill to make it look fantastic. detailing the exterior of your house. Curb appeal for sale, or if you're having a wedding in your backyard or getting ready for barbecue season, Cleaner Up LV, we're the folks to call.
Cleaner Up LV. Well executed, Gary. And I love he goes, Alvaro here is cleaning up the stucco on this home. Always shouting out the people that are doing the dirty work. By the way, Bretsky, Ishaboy, we need a Rabchak Muppet. If you can, grab the WST Sunday Live with Liz, Jacob, and Connor. We would love to. We'd love to see. Love to see that. It would be too good. And hey, by the way, I'll remind people. I mentioned this earlier, but Remo, if people just can't get enough talk about last night's game, you and Connor fired it up right after the game last night. And there's about a 30-minute recap of that game that's also up on the channel right now that people can go and check out after the program today.
Yeah, one thing we should also mention, it's going to become Winnipeg's schedule talk, as everyone wants to know when the first game is. And we do know that Saturday, a week from tomorrow, there is a concert scheduled at Canada Life Centre, BTO.
Beat it,
and
BTO.
I did just get an email from Ticketmaster House. If you want to take advantage of the buy one, get one free offer, promo code Highway. So promo code Highway for next Saturday's BTO at Canada Life Centre.
Yes, and by the way, I stand by my original prediction from 2 weeks ago when someone informed us that BTO was on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I think that show is going to get moved.
Well, you can get a buy one, get one free. I don't know if it is or not, but there is a buy. There's a coupon.
On Sunday. And again, we got to go to get this podcast up. But on the Thursday night, the final game of the regular season, there is a game between, who play? There's actually a few teams that play. The Kings play and the Maple Leafs play. The Senators play, the Lightning play. So they're not starting playoff series on Saturday for teams that play Sunday, which would leave Dallas and the Avalanche able to play, would leave the Jets and the Wild, or the Jets and the Blues would also be able to play. But if it's Oilers-Kings, the Kings play on Thursday. That one can't start Saturday. If it's the Leafs series if it's the Sens, they wouldn't be able to play. I guess there's a chance. Are the Caps playing on that last day of the season? The Capitals are as well. So as I said, I have no inside info on this, but I know the importance of the playoffs, and I know the importance of Canadian television, and they're going to want Canadian teams to be playing. So if I had to bet right now, I think they might make something happen with that concert, and I think we might get Saturday night playoff hockey here in Winnipeg. Whether that's an early start or whether that's the late one, we're going to get some 8:30 puck drops, which will probably be 8:50 if history has told us anything. But I'll tell you what, that'll all be a lot clearer next week after the weekend. Jets tomorrow in Chicago. Sunday night at home against the Edmonton Oilers. There's Gary. There's Gary Lawless as a Muppet. And then, of course, the fan appreciation game is on Wednesday. If you're thinking about going to that game on Wednesday, by the way, I did get some details from a friend. They've got some unreal giveaways. They've got. I wasn't joking about the Jets ukuleles. There's going to be some Jets ukuleles. I think they've got 6 Jets guitars they're giving away. Some game-used autograph sticks, bottle cap signs, autographed Jets signs, a TV, Jets event ticket giveaways, and Remis, get this. As part of one of the contests, some sort of a showdown, I believe, they're going to be giving away the Jets replica WWE belt.
What?
Yes.
Oh, man. I've always wanted one of those. That's one of my dreams, to have one of those replica belts. I got the toy one that I got when I was here, but I want a real one. That would be sweet.
It'll be the Showtime Showdown. which is going to be like a race on the ice, and the winner's going to get the title belt in the Showtime Showdown. And again, celebrating you, the fans, free hot dogs, souvenir cup, nonstop pop for everyone at the game. And they're giving away, I believe, $1,000 or $4,000 worth of Canadian Tire gift cards, a 68-liter Igloo BMX hard cooler, tons of Jets merch, a Ninja Creamy as well.
What's that? A Creamy?
I am not sure, but a Ninja, it's some sort of a food
the blender,
operation
food
thing.
processor. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's on Wednesday for the final game of the regular season before things get ramped up for the whiteout. And it should be a lot of fun. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to everyone for hanging out. Huge show today after such a big win. Fun marble race. By the way, who won the marble race? And Michael Sofer. Michael, hit us up with an email. We'll hook you up with that hoodie. Let us know what size you are. And other than that, enjoy the games tomorrow and Sunday. I'll be up in the Upper Bowl on Sunday. Pop by and say hi if you're around. And otherwise, pop by and say hi on Monday afternoon, 1 p.m., when we begin the final week of the regular season. There'll be one more game to go for the Winnipeg Jets. Fan appreciation on Wednesday. And then next weekend, 1 week from right now, we'll see you at Canada Life Center for the playoffs. And don't forget, get to our social media and get entered into our playoffs in the Peg contest, so maybe you can take in some playoff hockey courtesy of Coolbet and WST. Thanks to Jamie Thomas. Thanks to Ken Wiebe. Huge thanks to Craig Button for coming on as well, and everyone that pushed the numbers up the way they were for today's show. Appreciate the support from all our sponsors as well. Cannot wait for next week and cannot wait for the playoffs, folks. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Don't forget, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., Connor, Liz, Jacob with another episode of WST Sunday Live.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.